Nice.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Ambassadorial Wing. And I am your host, the Ambassador, and tonight I have with me the Supreme Heretic himself, Drew Taylor, and Orange Hat Reviews. And tonight we will be continuing our discussion about the prequel trilogy, in particular, The Revenge of the Sith. And, time permitted, which there should be, we will be also discussing the Indiana Jones trilogy, because here on the Ambassadorial Wing, we do not acknowledge the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. It is not part of canon.
No.
So, gentlemen, introduce yourselves to the audience as they start to come in, and while I take care of a little housekeeping.
Okay. I am Drew Taylor, staff writer for Bounding Into Comics. You can catch me at youtube.com/Supreme Heretic, and of course, you can read my work on boundingintocomics.com. We cover all your pop culture needs, and we have new stories on the site every day, so make sure that you check us out because it's an awesome site. And we don't give you the BS that quote-unquote mainstream news tries to. There you go.
And I am Orange Hat Reviews. I do all sorts of entertainment news, movie reviews, and all sorts of insanity. And the controversial stuff, too. And that's my Joker impression, by the way.
That's actually pretty good.
It's pretty good.
I cover all the stuff that the media doesn't like to cover. I cover the controversial shit, and I use Bounding Into Comics as one of my greatest information hubs.
Yes, Bounding Into Comics, where you can go to get the straight poop from the people who shovel it.
Exactly.
Except it's not stinky bad poop like you get on Collider. It's good poop like Bounding Into
That shit's made of gold.
Yeah.
It's gold. It's the gold. It's the gold-plated poop from the Golden Gooses at Willy Wonka's Chocolate Factory.
We are not one of those terrible online publications that starts with the B, like Vox and Vice and
just real quick aside before we jump on to our first topic of the night. Did you all hear that Vox actually gave Rise of Skywalker a negative review?
Yes, I actually read it. It was like
holy shit, they did.
They did. They totally did.
Wow, a shill site that didn't shill.
Mm-hmm.
I know. It's beautiful. It's amazing. I could not I could not barely believe my ears.
Well, I will say this really quickly about the Rise of Skywalker, and I won't give away any spoilers here, but I will say
that will be for tomorrow night.
Yeah. Touching on that real quick, Vox had, they hated it for this reason. The Rise of Skywalker is not an SJW pandering film. I can say that 100% positively about it. There's a couple of token bones that they throw toward that crowd in the movie, but for the most part, it is definitely not an SJW film. So if you guys do not want woke, you will respect the Rise of Skywalker at least because it did not do woke.
It's a miracle.
Okay, so Vox hated it because they didn't go woke.
Yeah,
that's not a negative review. That's just a double negative review that ends up being positive. Ugh.
Essentially, they hated
still
it
idiots.
because it didn't go woke. Yeah, that's bottom line.
They didn't go woke, but they're still going to go broke.
Yeah, exactly.
They are going to go, but they're going. But here's the thing: they're going to go woke because they're going to go broke because they did go woke.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly.
Let's get to episode 3. Otherwise, my rage will start to boil.
No, save that rage, Orange. Save it for tomorrow night. Because, ladies and gentlemen, I will be doing a live stream review of The Rise of Skywalker here on the Ambassadorial Wing. So keep your eyes and ears peeled for that. But tonight, we're going to talk about something a little more pleasant, something that we all kind of enjoy, and that's The Revenge of the Sith. And I think everybody likes Indiana Jones, except for maybe the Nazis.
Yeah. This
Awesome.
yeah, that term is we
Okay,
can't
we're talking about real, well, not
Yeah.
real life, but like actual 1930s and 40s
Yeah.
Nazis, not what they call everybody who thinks differently from them.
yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, let's jump in here and everything, and let's sink our hooks into this beauty of a movie and everything. The finale of the prequel trilogy, The Revenge of the Sith. And Drew, since you are relatively new, at least here on the Ambassadorial Wing, we're going to let you have first crack. What are your initial? What's something you want to talk about and everything in regards to Revenge of the Sith?
I mean, this was one of my I have an unpopular opinion about the prequel trilogy because I tell people, I really enjoyed Episode 2, Attack of the Clones, but I also enjoyed this movie as well because it really showed a lot of the stuff like 6, how we got there, I thought it did a good job of overall of really showing Anakin's turn in a good way. I mean, this movie is criminally underrated. A lot of people don't pay it any mind because the original trilogy purists that never gave the prequel trilogies a chance. There's some of them are starting to come around now, but they never gave it its true props. I thought that Revenge of the Sith really nailed a lot of things. It did so many things well, and who could not remember that total iconic saber fight in on Mustafar. I mean, that's just one of the best saber fight action sequences in all of Star Wars. I mean, you can make the argument that the Anakin Obi-Wan saber fight in Revenge of the Sith is the best saber fight of all time in Star Wars movie history.
Orange, what do you think?
Well, it is my favorite out of the prequels, and it's actually my favorite Star Wars film. I mean, yes, I love the original trilogy, and I'm actually one of those original trilogy fans that also love the prequels. I mean, I wouldn't go so far as saying I'm a purist because, well, that's just kind of in the extreme a little bit. But when it came to Episode 3, let's just say that I was at the theater 2 hours to 3 hours before before everybody else started lining up. I was at because in Syracuse, when you go to the freaking theaters to see a movie, especially one like Star Wars, you got to be there at the freaking open. I was in that building for 12 fucking hours. I mean, I got there when they opened up, and I'm just like, I want to be here. I want to get my ticket for the freaking 7:00 Episode 3, and it's like, yeah. And when I got it, man, oh my gosh, it was freaking beautiful. Oh
yeah, I can completely understand. And ladies and gentlemen, I do want to introduce, I do have my first moderator. Say hello to Shea Stormdragon, mother of moderators. First of her line. And to all of our guests, welcome. Glad you all are here.
Stories by Irish, good to see you.
Irish. I just talked to you this morning, Irish.
I will say my memory of Revenge of the Sith, I was chomping at the bit. I was ready when they started releasing the trailers and everything. I was like, okay. When do I get tickets? When I can get tickets? When can I get tickets? And then they were like, tickets are now on sale. I'm like, I got to get to the theater now, today, this moment.
Hayden really knocked it out of the park in this
Oh,
movie.
Hayden. I actually remember because I went. I think I went to it was a 7 o'clock show, but at the time and everything, or did I go to a midnight show? Actually, I think I went to 2 showings. I think I went to a midnight show, and then I went to also. I went to a showing opening night and everything when they still did those. And the midnight show, they had still been running House of Wax with Paris Hilton. And they started running that, and everybody in the freaking theater started booing, and we're like, we want the show. We want the show. And one of the theater managers came in like, everybody calm down. We're taking care of it now. We're switching out the reels. Just give us a couple minutes. And like everybody's like, okay, thank you. Now go away. Go fix our film. But yeah, I remember I was like 2 rows from the screen and everything. I was down out in front, and the music came up and the logo came up, and I was like, okay, entertain me, make it awesome, please make it good. No cringy dialogue, hopefully. And by the time the thing was over, I was like, yes, this was great. This was awesome. I love this. This was good. It was all good. It was beautiful. I was happy. The theater was happy. Everybody was up, staying up, clapping, going, yeah, yeah. And in comparison to when I walked out of The Last Jedi, at least the second time, I was like, what the hell did I just watch? But yeah, I would say Anakin and Obi-Wan's duel was the most intense, just okay. No problem, Drew. We'll see in a few. But I will say that honestly, my favorite duel from episode 3 had to be the battle between Yoda and Sidious, because this, while the duel between Obi-Wan and Anakin had the emotional weight to it, and it was epic. I'm not going to dispute its epicness. I would say for me, the duel, well, it was a duel, but it was also a force ability battle, more so, between Yoda and Sidious. That for me was like the coup de grace. That was like, for me, that was the cherry on top of the awesome sundae.
Yeah. I mean, you truly saw how crazy Sidious was. I mean, he's laughing the whole time while he's throwing all those freaking Senate pods. It's like, yeah.
and then they had, and then there was that part. God, then there was that robot chicken clip and everything. He's like, I threw the Senate aim. The actual Senate, true story. and they had to call from Vader and everything. It's because he's talking to, I think, Masamida and another dignitary, one of his little toadies and everything.
Was it Sly Moore?
No, it wasn't Sly Moore. He was dressed. The other guy was dressed like one of the dignitaries that was with him in Return of the Jedi.
Oh yeah, one of those big hats. Yeah.
Yeah, one of the big hats. One of the darks. One of his
dark side dignitaries. Yeah.
Yeah, dark side dignitaries or wherever they are. They're really pasty looking guys and whatever.
Yeah.
But I just the great thing about Revenge of the Sith was it had so many great beats to it and everything, because you finally had the culmination of the Sith scheme against the Republic and against the Jedi. Well, more so the Jedi and everything.
Have you read the book?
Oh, I have the book. It's like less than an inch away from me. It's right in between. I have mine set up chronologically. I'm wacky that way. I've got the Darth Bane trilogy, then I've got Revenge of the Sith, then I've got the Dark Lord book, The Rise of Darth Vader, then I've got the
we're gonna have to discuss that too.
Oh yeah, that is a good book.
That describes what it's like in the suit.
Oh yeah. And
it's like,
hey, Orville Nation, well, glad you're here, sir. Orville Nation, good people.
Yes,
Very
he
good
is.
people. Very good people. But yeah, the book and everything, and we may touch on that a little bit here in a little while after we're done with the with Revenge of the Sith itself. But I remember one quote in particular from the book and everything. It's a conversation between Vader and Palpatine when Vader is getting his suit repaired or adjusted or whatever, and
Oh yeah.
Vader says to Sidious, "Are these the faces of victory?"
Yep. And he's like,
Because Vader is all burnt and charred and scarred, and Sidious he's all deformed now because of the backlash from the Force lightning and everything when he was trying to attack Mace Windu,
and even more so after Yoda.
Oh yeah,
they actually touch on that.
Oh yeah, I haven't had a chance to read through the entire Revenge of the Sith book, but I'm going to at some point and everything. I may do that just to cleanse my palate next week and everything before Christmas starts, or before Christmas and afterwards, because I love Christmas and I like to watch Christmassy stuff and read Christmassy stuff and everything.
Yeah, you like to get into the spirit.
Yeah, exactly. Well, just a little quick aside and everything. I actually watched, because I'm now on Christmas vacation from work and everything. I actually sat down last night and watched Christmas Vacation.
There you go.
So, yeah.
That's a great movie.
Oh, yeah. We talked about it. We've talked about it a couple of times on the last couple of live streams I did and everything before, the one before. But, yeah, we were just talking about the comparison between the fight between Anakin and Obi-Wan and the fight between Yoda and Sidious, and I was just telling Orange and everything.
Well, even I mean, this movie was just so cool. Like even the beginning of the movie when you got you just see like the huge space battle and
oh man,
the Venators and the Jedi Starfighter sequence where Obi-Wan and Anakin are flying in to get to the capital ship. I mean, it's just awesome.
Man, that whole sequence, yeah, totally.
It was the longest continuous shot at the time.
Yeah, it was.
Believe it or not.
It was beautiful. I mean, that was our first time we had seen space capital ship battle and fighter battle all at the same time, and you've got a better idea of what ship-to-ship battle, capital ship battle in the Star Wars universe was like. Because up until that point, the biggest battle we had obviously was at the end of Return of the Jedi and everything between the Rebel Alliance and the Empire. But this is the cool thing about this is these ships, at least the Republic ships, were designed for combat. Not all the ships that were in the Separatist fleet were designed for combat. They were retrofitted.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Everything for those.
They were droids, like the fighter ships were droids.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, the Tri-Fighters.
Well, and even the Vulture droids. Yeah, those were completely. And actually, that's kind of a cool callback to, I think it's Dark Empire, where Palpatine had taken the brains, the minds of great Imperial fighter pilot aces and implanted them into these shadow droid ships and everything that are like a cybernetic fighter and everything. And that was actually, the Tri-Droid was actually kind of a cool callback to those ships. Nice. And that was honestly, that was a really cool implementation of EU material into canon.
Yeah, exactly.
And yeah, that whole sequence and everything, honestly, that whole sequence where Obi-Wan and Anakin are in their fighters and they're trying to get those buzz droids off of each other, that honestly was kind of a nice little comedic moment between them. And I don't know if either one of you know this better than I do, because I honestly don't. Why was Obi-Wan so anti-piloting?
Yeah.
Because he always made the
wasn't
comment.
really good at it.
Yeah, he kind of.
Yeah, because he made the comment, piloting is for droids.
Yeah,
And I'm like, a human has better reflexes than a droid does, and I'm like, dude, you're a freaking Jedi Master. You've got fellow members of the Council who are actually really good fighter pilots, like Plo Koon, like CC-10, like Adi Gallia. If I'm guessing,
CC-10 was one of the best pilots until Anakin came along. Then it became second best.
Yeah, because if either one you remember, they did a really good game. I think it's for the Xbox and the PS2 and everything called Jedi Starfighter that you actually used the Jedi Starfighter and everything from Attack of the Clones and everything. And that game was fun as hell and everything. I remember getting back when there was such a thing, you could get the cheat codes for it and you could have unlimited force ability in your fighter and you could be, I think there was even a God mode code for the game where you were pretty much indestructible. You could not die. And that game was so much fun. Oh, hey, okay, we got another guy. We got another guy coming in, fellas, or anything. CJ.
Greetings.
Evening, CJ. Glad you're here.
Hey, CJ.
CJ, you up and running, bud?
Yeah, can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay. Yeah. Greetings, strange humans.
No, CJ. I'll act like there was a skit. There was a skit that Adam Sandler had this where he played this blind goat. I'll just be like, "Come closer! I cannot see you."
It's my intro, so.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
CJ, glad you can make it tonight, bud. I thought I had sent you the link and everything, but unfortunately, I didn't hit the send button. I'm like, oops. I'm like, say that one more time, bud. You're a little bit muffled.
I just woke up from a power nap, so.
Oh, okay. That makes
nice.
sense. Okay, so I don't feel quite so bad. Yeah, we're just talking about Revenge of the Sith and everything. We're gonna wrap up the prequel trilogy discussion. Then we're gonna talk about the Indiana Jones trilogy after that. So, thus far we've talked about. Huh?
Did you already talk 90s movies?
No, we're not doing 90s movies tonight.
Oh, see, my memory is complete.
That's okay. No, we had started a prequel. Well, you remember Wednesday night we had started a prequel trilogy discussion. We didn't get to finish the prequels and everything because we ran long and everything. So we decided to pick up with Revenge of the Sith, and then we're gonna switch gears a little bit and talk about Indiana Jones because I think everybody likes Indiana Jones and. Kind of just to break the monotony of Star Wars.
Yeah. But yeah, I did want to touch on the space battle a little bit.
Yeah. Absolutely.
After the Clone Wars show came out, there's the pilot called Oddball.
Yeah.
That he was in Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah.
And it's like they kind of retroactively kind of cut them in a way. Because in the show, he starts off as a wily pilot that panics easy. But then he comes in during the Shadows of Umbara sequence or season where he's pretty ace and doing well and whatnot. And then in freaking episode 3, he's like, they're all over me, get him off my It's like, oh shit, Oddball's dead.
Well, and not to mention, I don't want to cut you off here. The truth is, the ARC 170 fighter was not particularly good for dogfighting.
Yeah, it was. It was basically that was the official canonized precursor to the X-wing.
Yep, because they never used. I don't think they ever used the headhunter in the Z95s.
Yeah, they never brought those in until after.
They used it in Rebels, I think, a little bit, but they never used it in the Clone Wars.
Yeah, I know, and it's like, goddamn, man, that would have been the perfect use for the headhunters. It's like the Z95s, as limited as they were, but they were still very good.
You were gonna say, CJ?
Yeah, if you've watched the miniseries, the Clone Wars, you would have been upset about how they treated Grievous.
Oh yeah, I mean, Grievous was coughing and shit even before he even met Mace Windu at the last moment. And it's like, why the hell is he always coughing all the time? I mean, in episode 3, we know why he's coughing. That was because Mace Windu did the Force Crush. But now in the freaking Clone Wars, it's like he's always had that problem. It's like, come on now.
Well, I think
so they kind of retconned him in a way.
Well, I think actually those Clone Wars cartoon shorts that they did took place.
Basically says that it's because of his lungs.
And there was some sort of glitch and everything when they were constructing his body, and they put the lungs in.
Yeah, it was imperfect.
Something went haywire. But I think the cool thing about Grievous or anything was, unless I'm mistaken, he wasn't always that cowardly and everything, at least before his cybernetic transformation, but he turned kind of cowardly.
Oh yeah, he was always running if he lost the upper hand.
Yeah, if he didn't have the advantage, which I'm not saying as a military leader you should not retreat if you do not have the advantage, but you at least stick it out a little bit to see if you can turn things around. But invariably he would run. But I guess also that was those were probably standing orders from Dooku down from Sidious and everything, because Sidious was basically running both things from the side and everything. And
also they did not want Grievous captured at any, or basically he's like, if you get captured, we'll either have to kill you or we'll have to do something drastic to rescue you. Mm-hmm. And they covered that in the Clone Wars. They caught Grievous, and it's like, okay, as I'm watching that episode, I'm like, what's gonna happen for them to basically release Grievous? And they didn't disappoint. They started torturing Anakin, knowing that Padme would do the trade, and it's like, yep, that's what I thought.
Yeah. Well, and honestly, I think what Lucas was trying to do with Grievous was kind of doing a shout back or a call back to some of the old villains from like the stuff that he grew up on and everything back in the 1930s and 40s and whatnot, with those old serials and everything. Which back in those days, those villains were kind of cowardly, kind of slippery, kind of sleazy and everything. So that would make sense.
I actually like when I was watching the special features to episode 3, where they were going over the different outlines and precursors to what Grievous would be, the what do they call them, the mock-ups and whatnot. And there was one with a little kid villain in a huge throne, and he's like, yes, the stereotypical child villain. Click. He's like, but I mean, we might visit that later. And then you could see that they had the Magna Guards. He's like, this is good, but not really what I'm looking for, but we can use those for like his bodyguards. And then he saw the one that looked a lot like Grievous, and he's like, this, but we got to touch it up a little bit. And I absolutely loved it, because the cartoon Clone Wars, it showed Grievous. He was goddamn, dude. He was ruthless. He was brutal. He was masterful. But
he was absolutely fearsome.
Yeah, they were really worried about him in that show. They're like, this guy is a threat.
Yep.
And
we are royally screwed here, because you had, I remember that cartoon and everything, because you had that cliffhanger and everything in between the first cartoon series and the second cartoon series. And they picked it up right as they cut out, because right when they ended, it was Grievous against, I think, Kiadi-Mundi
Yadi-Mundi, yep.
and Shakti, or no, Shakti had been incapacitated. It was just Grievous
Yep.
and Kiadi-Mundi, and you're like, they are so screwed.
Yep.
Hey, James Clark, thank you for joining, sir. Appreciate it.
And the Dave Filoni series are not connected.
No, they're
That's
not.
it.
They actually, after they did the Clone Wars series, they completely retconned the oh God, what's it called? The cartoon. And I wish they had actually brought Dirge in, because Dirge was a freaking badass, man.
Oh yeah,
Dirge was awesome.
Dirge was a good villain that they had for that first set of shorts or anything that they did, anything by Jenny Tarkovsky. I remember watching those. I had them. Is it Guinea or?
Yeah, it's Genny Tartakovsky. Yeah.
Okay, I actually had those on DVD. I honestly am thinking maybe picking those up again somewhere. I think I can get them secondhand. Yeah. And Shaya, you're doing just fine. Guys, Shay is my mod and everything. She's my very first mod. She's been with me since the beginning, since I started this whole thing. And I asked her, just quick aside, I asked her, I was like, do you want to be a moderator? Want to do my live streams? And she's like, sure. And I'm like, all you got to do is welcome people, pull up stuff and everything on YouTube, on Google or whatever. If I say, hey, can you pull up this and everything? And that's it. She never has to be.
Also,
she never has to be
channels. Yep. Also, if you want, or another thing that mods can do is they can share the channels of the guests and whatnot.
Yeah,
they
too.
Can also they can also plug your channel too, and all sorts of stuff.
Yeah. Shea, just real quick, all you have to do is click on a person's when they come in, click on them if they have a channel, and just do a share, copy and paste our link to their channel and put it down in the comments, and that's it. So if you want to do that for myself, for Drew, for CJH, for Orange, whoever, you can do that. And then if I'm too busy and I need an extra pair of hands, you're my extra pair of hands. Anyway, that little bit of housekeeping done. Honestly, I thought the voice for Grievous, the little bit you hear it in the animated show and everything, was a lot better than the voice that we get in
episode 3 in Clone Wars.
And in the Clone Wars, because honestly,
it does the battle droids.
Say that one more time,
yeah,
CJ?
it's Matt Wood.
Yeah, it's the same voice as the battle droids.
The guy that does the battle droids. Yeah.
It's a little trivia for you.
Okay.
Yep. He's the one that does the battle droids, the super battle droids, and he also did Grievous. Matt Wood.
Well, that would make sense, because I think they would want to keep the tone of the voice the voice of the battle droids the same, even though the B1 battle droids, they have a slightly higher whining pitch and everything compared to the super battle droids, and obviously Grievous.
Yeah.
So,
and one of the interesting things about the battle droids, which was retconned in the Clone Wars series, was in the first episode 1. Most of the battle droids had different voices.
Yeah, I remember
with
that.
a more baritone voice. You had one that was really high pitched, kind of crackly. It's like Roger. And you had 9, who was leading the assault on Theed.
Yeah.
He's like, open fire. It's like, oh shit. Yeah, you could tell that there was different voices to each of them.
Yeah, and I thought honestly that was better, because it gave each droid a different personality, so to speak.
Yeah.
So, but
they changed that up quick.
But I think another neat thing is, with the battle droids and the clones and everything, you had a very interesting dynamic between those two armies, because obviously they have been engineered and everything for this, this nonsense war, and essentially.
I never understood why, because they never spoke in Phantom Menace. They only said Roger. I'm wondering why they started speaking actual sentences.
Well,
Well,
they did have ones that spoke actual sentences. I mean,
Yeah.
he talked
I
with
don't-
the Neimoidians, the one that was stopping them from going to court or getting on the shuttle. They
Yeah.
also had the one that was escorting the queen not the queen, but her double to Camp 4. They did have open dialogue for some of the droids.
Oh yeah, they did. They had dialogue for a lot of the droids, especially in episode 1. And actually, the only time you ever hear the super battle droids speak is in episode 3 when you have those two that come in searching for Anakin and Obi-Wan after they've already left, and you've got R2's moments and everything there.
they hear R2 the comlink in the hangar.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh gee, it's like, Obi-Wan, would you shut the fuck up?
Yeah, really.
It's like,
Well, was it
Jesus,
Obi-Wan
man.
or was it Anakin that was talking at that particular moment?
It was Obi-Wan.
Was it?
And
Okay.
Those two super battle droids didn't have the really deep voice that they did in Clone
No,
Wars.
they didn't.
They had the normal battle droid voice. Like, yeah,
Super
stupid little astro droid. It's like, oh shit.
Yeah. And honestly, I thought that whole part and everything when they're there on the invisible hand, that whole sequence and everything was honestly, it had weight to it, but it was actually a little bit of fun too and everything, because you had those comedic moments with R2 and everything, and this is one of the few times where R2 gets a kill, like an outright kill.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah.
Yeah, he sprays oil all over the floor and then he ignites it with his rockets, and like,
Yep.
don't ride R2, he got a kill.
He got 2 confirmed kills during the Clone Wars.
Yes, he did.
Well,
Besides
the movies, yeah, but in the show, he actually does do a couple more kills.
Oh yeah, well, there's that one episode in Clone Wars where it's nothing but droids and that little itty bitty that little alien colonel.
General. Yeah, Colonel whatchamacallit, yeah.
Oh, I can't remember his name. Shay, if you can
Meever Gascon. Gascon.
Yeah, Gascon.
It's like, why the hell would you guys do something like that? I mean, seriously. It was just hilarious in its absurdity.
It was, but honestly, that was one of the cool. I think that was one of the really neat things about the Clone Wars cartoons was the fact that you got so much more of a feel of what the universe was like at that time during the Clone Wars and whatnot, and it gave you a better idea of the stakes that everybody was up against leading into Episode 3, because Episode 3. Let's be honest, the prequels, the only time you really see anything of the Clone Wars is the Battle of Geonosis, which is the opening campaign, and then you see the Battle of Coruscant, and then you see a few other sporadic battles like the battle on Kashyyyk. Megiddo, that's where Ki-Adi-Mundi was, Katie Nemoidia.
Felucia.
Felucia. Irish, it's okay. But let's see who else or what are the planets? What is the name of that planet that Obi-Wan was on? Utapau.
Utapau.
Yeah, Utapau.
And what you all may know this in the chat. You all may know this as well. The guy that plays the Prime Minister of Utapau, Obi-Wan, make sure the same guy that played. Played
the chopper.
The gyrocopter, the gyrocopter pilot, and he also played the Mouth of Sauron in the Return of the King.
Yep, Bruce.
He
Spence
was busy.
Is his name.
Yeah, what was his first name?
Bruce Spence.
Bruce Spence. Yeah, I remember his last name was Spence and everything, but I couldn't remember his first name for the life of me. But honestly, I thought all those plans that you had in at least Revenge of the Sith gave you a good idea of just how vast this conflict was. So,
see, I felt like this movie, did the sort of like touching on the galaxy spanning portion of the war. I felt like it did it in a good manner, even though that it was like short scenes. I thought it was done well, as opposed to, like you take for example, like Tross. You go to see the new movie, and they try to do some galaxy spanning stuff as well, but you don't get the same kind of feel that you did with Revenge of the Sith, because even though they were short scenes, they really had some depth to them, to where you felt like, okay, something is going on here. And of course, they had the bigger set piece of the war going on, which they portrayed in a good way. Whereas in Traj, you don't really get that sort of depth and definition. I mean, so it's a stark contrast, and that's another reason why Revenge of the Sith is really good. It covers that galaxy spanning portion of the Clone Wars really well.
There's also a bunch of practical effects and miniature sets.
What are you talking about? You talking about Revenge of the Sith?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I know a lot of people complained, and we talked about this the other night and everything with episode 1 and episode 2, that there was a lot of blue screen and a lot of CGI effects. But I think with Revenge of the Sith and everything, you had Lucas getting away from
practical effects.
Doing just you had him getting away from practical effects, but you had other people saying, "Hey, George, we kind of need to bring some practical effects in here because it just makes sense." And he did, to a point, listen to the guys at ILM and everything, because there were more practical effects where it was applicable. Practical.
Yeah. I thought that Revenge of the Sith had a nice balance to it.
It did.
Practical and CGI.
You also got to remember that episode 2 was, they were testing out the digital technology that they used. I mean, episode 1 was the absolute beta test, but episode 2 was the complete, or was at the time their absolute best their best version of content.
Yeah,
well, they also
it's like it kind of went
so added to the glossiness.
Say that again, CJ.
They filmed with digital cameras, which added to the glossy feel of it, which made every practical effect look like CGI.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I know that they have gone back and they've replaced the puppet Yoda with CGI Yoda, especially in episode 1. And I was actually kind of bummed about that, because honestly, I thought the puppet Yoda was actually better in a lot of ways compared to the pure CGI Yoda for episode 1. But I will say,
one was just atrocious.
So, well, I'll say I like the puppet version of Yoda in episode 1, but that's me.
I do too, and the CGI version they did.
Oh, okay.
When they had his eyes changing size throughout the whole fucking movie. It's like his eyes are a little bit bigger, then they're a little bit small. It's like, makeup, you guys didn't do this good. And when they did it, it was Disney that freaking did the digital Yoda in episode 1, or what?
Where Yoda is walking, and that's CGI Yoda.
Yeah, it wasn't the best, but it worked.
Yeah, that was one of the only digital shots of Yoda in the first episode, was him walking when he was conferring the knighthood upon Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
And I think there was one other one that they did that was digital, because I do remember them saying there was only 2 digital special effects for Yoda, and one was him in the throne room, the other was, I can't remember where it was, but it was there somewhere.
Well, and I will say this, considering the length of time between episodes 1 and episode 3, digital Yoda in episode 3, I think he looked the best. and that's
yeah,
true.
that was where he truly shined.
Yeah, and well, honestly, they wanted him to make they had enough time to work on him further and everything.
Mhm.
And kind of backtracking just a little bit to episode 2, because they were working so hard to try and get this digital Yoda right. And I remember watching the special features, and when they were the guys at ILM were busting their hum trying to get this CGI Yoda right, and
Oh yeah.
it just didn't. It wasn't quite clicking, and then they finally cracked the code, and Lucas was like, "That's it, you got it."
The irony is that if you what is it baby Yoda is a puppet.
For the most part, yeah.
That's what I understood. I figured you're talking about the
He's an
Mandalorian, right?
animatronic, yeah.
Okay, that's why I had a feeling. But dang, those are some small animatronics.
The technology
for them,
and the mechanics has gotten a lot better. I mean, they can,
I can.
or to have that little, not even 1 foot tall Yoda is actually a lot of it is actual mechanics and whatnot, and there's no wires or anything. It's a freaking remote puppet.
In Menace, the theater version, that puppet looks atrocious.
And what one?
In Phantom Menace.
Well, he was a younger Yoda, you got to remember.
Yeah,
No, I
but
think
it's like the puppetry hasn't advanced back then to how it is now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I think honestly, the reason that they had finally cracked the code on Yoda and he looked as good as he did in Revenge of the Sith is because they were going to have him doing a lot more than he had done previously.
Oh yeah.
In either of the other episodes and everything, because you were going to have him obviously interacting there on Coruscant, and eventually you were going to have him you had him there on Kashyyyk. And I will say it, when Yoda has to kill, he goes straight in for the kill. He does not screw around.
No, he does not. I mean, when the clones betray him, he just went straight for the heads.
Yoda gonna give it to you.
Yeah.
Yo, gonna give it to you. Gonna give it to you. Yo, gonna give it to you. So, like, dude, he's like, fuck this. You guys dead.
Yep.
And he just does a little backflip, but cuts their fucking heads off.
And he jumped over Chewbacca and War Tarful. And dang, Yoda got...
Well, actually, he didn't jump over them. He just did a backflip in between the two clones and was at their height to take their heads off.
Oh, that's right. Because, Tarful and Chewbacca didn't come in until after he had done the kill. Yeah.
No, they were there. They were like wondering, like, what the hell did he just do?
Yeah.
But he understood that Yoda would not have done that unless something was truly wrong.
Yeah, because as he said, good relations I have with the Wookiees.
Yeah,
and that's honestly interesting.
Yeah,
and
I mean, it was. Go ahead.
Yoda was kind of like the godlike white man of Star Wars. He was respected and feared, and his voice carried weight everywhere he went.
Oh yeah, he was.
If y'all knew.
He was the Grand.
He was the Grand Master of the Jedi Order. He did not mess around, and he did.
In episode 1, believe it or not, he was actually the head of the Order. But when the Clone Wars started, he actually gave it over to Yoda. He's like, I can't coordinate this war and still be the head of the Order.
Mm-hmm.
And whatnot. So he actually gave it over to Yoda.
Yeah. And I think kind of shifting gears a little bit, the really neat thing about the Clone Wars is the fact that you had such a great scheme concocted by Sidious and his master and everything, and then Sidious just kind of picking it up from Plagueis and everything. And I loved the scenes between Palpatine and Anakin, those honestly were some of the best scenes in the movie, at least as far as I was concerned, because you start to see him pulling a little more deliberately on the strings, playing on Anakin's worries and concerns and anxiety, and you're like, "Ooh, this is gonna go badly, obviously."
Oh yeah, I mean, it went completely different. It was more different in the book, and I actually like the book way better, or the book version of The Seduction of Anakin Skywalker better, because in the movie, yeah, he figures it out, then he draws his lightsaber and he's like, "You're the Sith Lord." In the book, when he finally puts it together, he is ready to kill Palpatine. He's like, "It's you, it's been you all along," and he didn't even remember pulling out. He was truly freaking. He was haunted. He was at an emotional wreck at that point. But when Palpatine confirmed that he was the Sith, Anakin purely acted on instinct of the Force, and he's like, "I should kill you. I will kill you." He's like, "For what?" And he's like, "You're a Sith Lord." He's like, "I am, but I'm also your best friend."
Yeah.
I mean, have I got you on this and that? I mean, he just kept on playing the right tones and whatnot. I mean, now the thing is, if the Senate or if Mace Windu was smart, which because it was established in the Darth Bane trilogy, which came out, I believe, in before Episode 3. It was before Episode 3. Any Sith artifacts or Sith anything was considered illegal in the Republic. I mean, Palpatine could have legitimately been arrested for those. Are making me want to pop into the prequels and have nice. But yeah, Palpatine could have been arrested for the statues he had in his office because they were confirmed Sith statues.
Yeah, those were Doherty and everything, and the Doherty were something that was affiliated with the Sith.
Yeah, they were Sith worshippers.
Those were actually some of those relics. The Doherty relics were from Plagueis, as a matter of fact.
Yep, they were.
Because
and that bronzium one, but that was only mentioned in the movie or in the book, not in the movie. And I thought they should have brought the Neuranium statue where Plagueis hid his lightsaber, but they didn't. And it's like if they would have only incorporated that in the movie, it would have been so cool. Because in the book, when Sidious full Sith mode, they didn't call him Sidious. They called him the Shadow because he was darker than dark. He was absolute darkness. Yeah, and that book was brilliantly written, and the movie was brilliantly done too. But it's like, goddamn, man.
Gents, I apologize. I'm probably gonna bow out a little early here. My mom had a situation that come up, so I'm gonna go ahead and
dude, that's totally understandable. It was good to have you on and everything.
Yeah,
we'll definitely I will definitely shoot you a link tomorrow night and everything when we get ready to dissect the Rise of Skywalker.
I apologize that I have to cut it short, man. I'm loving the discussion because I'm actually one of the people that, as I said, I kind of enjoy the prequel trilogy. So I'm at least I'm at least glad I was able to contribute some good thoughts about it because this is one of the really good movies in the prequel trilogy for sure. So
it was
Drew, you go take care of your mom. Don't worry about it.
Sure will. Hey BT, it's good to see you. Thanks everybody out in chat. Stories by Irish and Shia, you're an awesome mod. You're doing a good job. And thank you to Orange Hat and CJ, and of course my good friend the Ambassador. Appreciate you, buddy. And hopefully tomorrow I'll come in for longer, and it'll be a good time.
Yeah, so, with respect, son.
Yep,
with respect. We'll talk to you later, Haas.
Yep, take it easy.
You do the same.
But man. Episode 3, I think. Jesus, man, we could do, or I could go all night. geeking out on episode 3.
Hey, hail, Biden touch. Hope you're gonna behave yourself tonight.
Yeah,
So,
somebody, or yeah. Anyway,
but yeah, let's see. Where were we? We were talking about Sidious and
Yeah,
the whole thing between him and the thing between him and Palpatine.
yeah,
But
yeah,
honestly, I think the dialogue there between Palpatine and Anakin and everything was some of the best that honestly Lucas had written since maybe the original trilogy, truth be told. So
First time his dialogue actually made sense.
very true. So
but yeah, they or was it? Yeah, I think it was the other prequel discussion that we were having that I actually gave or where commented on how the difference in or the different things, the psychological stuff and whatnot, and how it was a different era, so they spoke differently and whatnot. Because one of the things is that had issues with, or that people had issues was, it was just bad writing and this and that. It's like, yeah, but you got to realize the writing or the way that they dropped those lines and the way they were talking. This was a renaissance compared to the dark times. I mean, seriously.
yeah,
It's
because
like comparing Renaissance to the Dark Ages.
yeah, because as Obi-Wan said to Luke in Episode 4, it was an elegant weapon for a more civilized age, and obviously the language that was used during the Republic period was much more civilized.
Exactly.
There was a measure of civility, even if it was veiled civility. Anything, because let's face it, the Senate and the Republic was fractured and broken beyond all good reason, and it was partially due to the corruption sown by Plagueis and by Palpatine, and probably even by Plagueis's predecessor.
Yep, Tenebrous.
Oh yeah, Dark Tenebrous. Yeah,
who was actually kind of named after the original Emperor's name, Tenebrae. Believe it or not.
I did not know that.
Really a connection, but yeah, one of the things that I also wanted to touch on was, oh, shit! It just got out, or just slipped my mind.
So after the prequels, where were we going to next? Like the Force Unleashed?
No, after the prequels, we were going to jump into. We might talk about the Clone Wars a little bit, the cartoon, but we're going to do. We're going to switch gears a little bit and talk about Indiana Jones, the first three anyway.
The next episode that you do.
Oh, you mean my next live stream?
Yeah.
That will be
no.
Tomorrow night will be. I'm going to see. Tomorrow night will be my live stream review of Rise of Skywalker. That's what I'm going to do tomorrow night.
Yeah.
So, and I'll be sending out links to all the usual suspects and everything, including UCJ. So.
Okay. Because I'll probably go in the someday.
Okay.
Soon.
Okay. Well, if you want me on there, just shoot me a link and everything. As long as it doesn't conflict with anything, I'll be there.
Oh yeah.
Because I think the love of the original trilogy is pretty much universal.
Yeah.
At this point, yeah.
But anyway, let's see. I think, and honestly, another thing, get y'all's input on this. I think another interesting aspect of an aspect of episode 3 is honestly the advancement in technology. I know we touched on that a little bit when we were talking about the opening space battle and everything, but you really see the evolution of the Republic military in comparison from episode 2 to episode 3.
Yeah.
Because while the ground vehicles and everything had stayed pretty much static between episodes 2 and 3, there had been a lot of evolution and everything, a lot of advancement with the naval aspect of the Republic military.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
thoughts on that?
Give me a minute for like 2 seconds here. So I'll probably be back, but I just gotta check on.
Okay,
Is that all right?
that's fine, CJ. We'll see you in a few.
All right. Yep.
Awesome.
But yeah, touching on that for a moment, when the Clone Wars started, they didn't really have any starfighters. They only had the they had the Jedi starfighters, but they had actually had to be retrofitted because they didn't really have any weapons at the time.
Yeah.
Because in episode 2, the Jedi starfighter that Obi-Wan has, it didn't have weapons. It had no lasers. It was a peace craft.
Yeah.
So there was no real naval force that was shown. And
pretty much all you had was the acclimators.
Or the LATs. They only had the LATs and the LAT carriers for the walkers.
Yeah, and well, obviously the acclimators, but those things were not armed very well, if at all, and everything, because they were primarily a transport vessel.
Yep.
And you get a decent sense of what the how the acclimators were equipped in the Republic Commando game, because they did have turbo laser batteries, and they did have, I think, proton torpedo launchers and everything. But other than that, they were not very heavily armed, and they were not designed for combat. I mean, heck, even the Separatist military and everything, their space forces, they weren't necessarily outfitted for space combat either. They had to be retrofitted as well.
Yep.
I mean, because the only pure...
I miss the space battles of Battlefront 2, the original Battlefront 2.
Yeah, those were a lot of fun. Everything. Battlefront 2, you could jump into a starfighter and go out. I would love to see. I mean, I know that they've got space battles now in the new Battlefront 2 by EA and everything, but I would love to see what they would do with a space battle within the old Battlefront 2 model and everything. How much more they've done with that.
Well, my favorite ships were the ones that were really fast. I mean, I enjoyed the bombers. My favorite bomber class was the Republic bomber. My favorite starfighter was the Jedi starfighter. But when it came to the other craft, I actually liked the X-wing best.
Yeah,
and whatnot. But other than actually, no, I didn't. I wouldn't say I like the X-wing best. I would probably say Vulture droid fighter best. Yeah.
Because that one had, I think, personally speaking for myself, of all the Clone Wars era fighters that they had designed and everything for the games and for the shows and whatnot, I would have to say my favorite is darn, this is hard. I would have to say probably my favorite Clone Wars fighter, design-wise at least, was the V-Wing.
Yeah,
because
that was
it had
bomber. For the Battlefront 2, the V-Wing was the bomber one. Yep.
Yeah, it was, because you had the V-Wing was the bomber, you had the ARC 170 was your regular fighter, and then of course they had the gunships and everything for boarding actions and everything, because they would have boarding action missions in between, or on the space missions for the campaign, and I think even for skirmishes and whatnot.
Yep.
Oh.
I mean, I usually filled up the droid carrier for
Mhm.
man, that sucker was boss, man.
Yeah.
I mean, the AI sucked for space battle, but when I loaded them up, it's like sometimes they actually would use some of the weapons, sometimes they wouldn't, and it's like, come on, smarten up and use it.
Yeah. Yeah. Honestly, I like the weaponry on the droid gunship and everything of the droid carrier because you had those cluster missiles and then you had that particle cannon on the front. That thing did a crap ton of damage.
Especially when definitely helped bringing down shields and shit.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, because you had to bring some missions, you had to bring down shields before you could even land, and you're like, crap, what am I going to use? Now, honestly, I think you could use the you had the gunships and everything. You had access to those particle lasers that they had mounted on the wings and the two pods on either side.
Yep.
And you could use. I think those were like a special ability for the gunships that you could use because you had the cluster missiles, then you had the regular guns on the front and everything.
Yep.
And kind of getting back into the movies, you actually got a good idea of how all these different pieces of the Republic military worked in concert with one another, particularly when you had even when you didn't have the Jedi working, when you just commanding the forces, you had the clone commanders and everything, and then the other Republic officers that were on the ground with the clone troopers. They had learned how to use these vehicles in concert with one another to cover the shortcomings of the different units, because you would have well, for instance, you had the two-legged walkers that were like a precursor to the scout walkers.
Yep.
And then, of course, you had the turbo tanks, which were a precursor to the AT-AT, the AT-AT.
Yep.
But honestly, I loved seeing the turbo tank on Kashyyyk for the simple fact that that was one of the few times you ever saw them in action. I think the only other time you ever see that
was the one that was launching all those missiles, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, Jacob, good evening. Glad you're here, sir.
Yep.
But yeah, honestly, the turbo tank was one of those things that just you're like, finally, we get to see what this thing can do, and you're like, dang, this thing packs a punch.
Yeah. I mean, those are the way that they showed a lot more of the different machinery and mechanics and stuff. That was actually pretty cool. I like how they did the crab droid in episode 3. I mean, it was small, but they also had the bigger crab droids too, and it's like, god dang, man, those things are a bitch, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, I remember the Revenge of the Sith game where you actually had to fight a crab droid. That thing was just a bitch to beat, even if you did have the
Yeah. The game was a lot of fun, I won't lie.
Yeah.
The Revenge of the Sith game, you probably know this, there's that secret ending or alternate ending that you can play through.
Yep.
That it was just like, wow, okay, this is different.
Where Anakin actually obliterates the high ground.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever heard of Bad Lip Reading, the YouTube channel? They did this song. They did a song with Obi-Wan singing "I Have the High Ground." And it's like, I have the high ground, I have the high ground. You underestimate my power. I have the high ground, I have the high ground. It was just so fucking well. Oh gosh, man, they did such great songs with freaking episode or with Empire Strikes Back.
Oh yeah.
Then they did Not the Future. Then they did freaking Seagulls Poking My Knees and shit.
Poking my head. Oh yeah, Bad Lip Reading. I don't. They've only, as far as I know, they've only done one for Force Awakens. I don't think they did one for Last Jedi.
I don't think they
As
did
far as-
anything to Last Jedi. But yeah, they or the one that was not the future actually touched all of the original trilogy, and
Mhm.
they started touching into Force Awakens and whatnot too.
Yeah.
I mean, I actually have those two saved on a playlist on my channel, I think, if I remember correctly.
I might have it too, and I think at least the one from Force Awakens.
Yeah.
I wanted to get a frap, but they wouldn't make it. You're always wanting a frap. You're always complaining about getting a frap. Frap's not important.
Yeah.
It's in my
chicken. I've watched a few of their things, but my favorite thing absolutely is the Palpatine escalator.
Oh yeah.
Lord,
Go bleep yourself.
Yeah,
Go bleep yourself.
I mean, at first
Go
he
bleep
gets,
yourself.
at first he gets, he's just going through the turret, and then he's like, yup, and then he just improvises. He's like, yup, right, Stormtrooper. Then he starts getting annoying, and he's like, Stormtrooper.
Stormtrooper.
Then he's like, my lord, ugh. And I just love that, ugh.
Yeah, I know. Complete and utter disgust. He's like,
go fuck yourself. Go fuck yourself. Then the next droid comes, or then the droid goes, what's that? It's like, oh shit. But the beginning of it, he just drops the full freaking racist bomb on the Quarren. It's like,
oh yeah.
Like
I don't want my robe to smell like a fish.
Oh my god, it's like, oh shit, man, seriously?
I know. I'm right there with you, Orange. I'm right there with you.
It was just so freaking well done.
I know. And okay, this definitely does connect into Revenge of the Sith. The Arlef poof shorts.
Oh, I think I have seen those. I can't remember.
Oh man, they are hilarious.
Oh god.
Especially after Order 66 has been executed, and he comes in, and the whole room is wrecked, and he's like, "Am I the only one left? I don't have very much time." And he jumps onto Yoda's chair, and he's like, "Backward talk, I do. So that nobody else talks." And then he grabs a couple of the pizzas that he went out to get for the council. And then later on, you see him on the Death Star working in the cafeteria. And there's a scene where he is actually standing on the opposite side of the serving line, and Palpatine and Vader are standing right there getting their lunch. And Palpatine's like, "I sense a disturbance in the Force." And Poof is like, "Oh crap, they found me out." And Palpatine's like, "You didn't give us any crackers."
Oh yeah. Nice. Yarl Poof, right? The thin
Yarlef Poof.
Wasn't he the long-necked Jedi from episode 1?
He was. Yeah, he was. Yeah, Yarlef Poof was the long neck Jedi, and his brain was actually down his chest.
He had a second brain. Yeah, he had a second brain in his chest, that also concealed, or his robes also concealed the second set of arms as well. He actually killed himself in between episodes 1 and 2, in order to save Coruscant, because there was a bomb set to go off that would have wiped out half of the planet.
Shea said this. No, we will get to Indiana Jones tonight. We're only going to spend maybe another half an hour to an hour talking about Revenge of the Sith. Then we're going to switch over to Indiana Jones.
But yeah, going back to Revenge of the Sith, one of the things that I liked that I always watch movies with audio commentary, and one of the
I do sometimes too.
They touched upon was when it was a really Godfather moment when Anakin's slaughtering the Separatists, but also Palpatine's announcing the creation of the Empire.
Formation of the First Galactic Empire.
But yeah, and he's like,
safe and secure society.
Yeah. But he also said, or they said, while it is truly horrible what Anakin is doing, the greatest or the greater evil is what Palpatine is doing at that moment.
Yeah, because you think about it, all those guys, all those separatists, they were out for themselves, so they had it coming.
Oh
They
yeah,
totally had it. They totally had it coming. And honestly, I did not feel a scrap of pity for any one of the separatists and everything when Anakin has got them sealed in that room, and especially when you see him turn his head and his eyes have gone Sith red and yellow, and you've got, like, I think it's the last two separatist leaders cowering at the far end of a conference table, and you're like, you're thinking yourself, and you're doing it in Sidious's voice. Do it.
Yep.
Do it, Anakin. Destroy them. Wipe them all out. Dang, that was actually a pretty good Sidious.
Yeah, it was.
It was Wat Tambor and it was somebody else.
Shumai, the female.
Yeah, and you're like, do it.
And then Rune Hako Rune Hako was actually killed already. But
yeah.
Then he gets to a freaking
Newt Gunray.
And the movie the kill in the movie was fine. Or it was, he wasted no words on it, but I love what they did in the book. He's like, or when all of them were trying to plead to him and stuff, Shumai, the little female that you actually see in episode 2, who says what you're proposing could be construed as treason. She was saying that the Duke in the movie or in the book, she's like, we were promised a handsome reward and whatnot. And he's like, I am your reward. Am I not handsome? And then he just blasts a freaking lightsaber right through her forehead and then slices her head off. And another person's like, I'll give you anything you want. And he slices him apart and he's like, thank you. And he then gets the gunnery and he's like, we were promised that to be left in peace. And he's like, the transmission was garbled. He said you would be left in pieces.
In pieces. I actually think I remember reading that and everything in the novel in Revenge of the Sith. Yeah.
It was just
it was so cold.
He was walking down the hall, having his lightsaber tip just scratching the wall, and he's smelling the ozone and the fear and all that. It's like, really dark at this moment.
But that's the idea, because this is the birth of Vader.
Of Darth Vader. Yeah.
This is Vader. We have not seen Vader this ruthless on screen since Rogue One.
Exactly. I mean,
and it was honestly, it was a horrifically beautiful moment.
Oh yeah.
It was truly a horrifically beautiful moment and everything. Because everybody, and since we started this live stream, thanks, Shia. We try. We're not Hayden Christensen or Ian McDermott or anything, but we do our best. Oh, she just said this.
Yeah, I saw it act out the movie. Yeah,
but
I mean, yeah, man, it's just I absolutely loved it, and he was actually planning to kill Sidious. He actually knew that his power had grown exponentially since he had turned, and he had a measure of Sidious's power at the time. And as he's talking to Sidious after he's killed all the Separatists, he notices Padme's ship coming in before Sidious says, and then Sidious says, you may be in danger. And he's like, and he's thinking to himself, yeah, danger of getting kissed to death, maybe. But
yeah, really.
And I'm guessing that Sidious picked up on that because he's like, the danger is real. Be mindful. And it's like, be mindful. Like, you get that from Obi-Wan. Jesus Christ, man. I am a difference in the Force, motherfucker.
I am the nexus of the freaking Force, and you are just some little toady that's been hiding behind the scenes all these years, pulling the strings. And the only reason I'm doing this is to save the woman I love. To hell with you, and to hell with your empire.
Well,
but then, of course, at
that point he was
eventually
more selfishly, yeah.
He says, like, I can defeat the Emperor. And we can run things the way we want.
But yeah, going back to Utapau for a moment, though, there was one thing I really wanted to touch upon. It was done. It wasn't really touched on in the movie, but definitely in the book, where it was a perfect Jedi trap, is what they called it. Now,
Oh, yeah.
Grievous had his own interpretation of what the perfect Jedi trap was and whatnot. But then after Obi-Wan kills Grievous and whatnot, you go to the real perfect Jedi trap, which was Sidious's design. And it's like, simply by Obi-Wan, or the trap was never meant to snare the Jedi. The trap was meant to lure the Jedi away from his, or from my target. As long as Obi-Wan was on Coruscant, Anakin could never be turned. Because Obi-Wan was literally his rock, his sanity, basically. And the second that they picked the beautiful thing is when they were talking, or when Grievous was talking with Sidious, Sidious says, expect the Jedi sent after you to be Obi-Wan Kenobi. I mean, he knew that Kenobi would be sent after him. And it's like, how the fuck would he know, though? But yeah, I mean, the way I'm guessing it's because of what he witnessed on on the Invisible Hand when Kenobi easily took control of the entire situation.
Oh, yeah.
So apparently he knew that Kenobi was not one to be trifled with, but he's still nowhere near Palpatine's level. But by having Kenobi sent away, he knew that, or by fighting at all, the Jedi lost. The trap was perfectly done because he doesn't need to die. Or if he dies, well, perfect. But if he wins, I still win because Grievous is no longer, or I don't have to kill Grievous then. So either way, it works.
Yeah, it's a win-win. It's a win-win for Sidious. Either way, he's like,
it was a master stroke, yeah.
Yeah, because Palpatine had contingencies for his contingencies. His vision of the Force and of the future was pretty much flawless. He knew what was coming down the road. He could see probably every eventuality and everything just as clearly as Thanos did with the Infinity Gauntlet on his hand with all 6 of the Infinity Stones. So there were no surprises around the corner for Palpatine. He knew what was coming. He knew what contingency he could put into action if something didn't quite go the way he wanted. And he wasn't gonna. He wasn't going to take any chances because this was the culmination of thousands of years of planning, plotting, and scheming, and he was not going to see it fail. I mean, he was as dedicated in a way to. He was dedicated he was just as dedicated to fulfill their plan as the Jedi were to completing the Clone Wars, for lack of a better.
Winning the Clone War.
So
by fighting, you've already lost because conflict darkens the Force. And one of the things is, I don't know, or you probably do know this if you've studied the EU and whatnot. The Death Star was not created simply for just reigning in the galaxy. It was used to be a massive deterrent against the Yuuzhan Vong.
Oh yeah, that thing. Despite work and she was kind of being, it was a moment of false bravado and false bravery on her part. That thing was meant as a mass anyone thinking about stepping up against the Empire. You saw that thing coming towards your planet, you're like, well, we're screwed. We've stepped out of line and we're about to pay for it.
Yep. I mean, there was also the
so
do you know who Vergeer is? She was the Fosh Jedi that was working on turning Jason Solo in the Vong War. She was a slave of the Yuuzhan Vong, so to speak. She was a Jedi.
I know what you're talking about.
She was in Rogue Planet, the book, or rather, that's
I think I remember that.
and she was actually a Sith apprentice to Sidious, but she took her shot too soon and missed, and that is the reason why she ran away.
Oh yeah.
And it's like I love how the books tied so well into the lore, even of the prequels and whatnot.
Everything.
And, exactly, and it's just perfectly done.
Because by that point and everything, the prequels had been finished, and they could draw upon all of that lore and everything to make the Yuzhan Vong War books or anything much more richer, anything, and do it. And as a callback, well, and heck, there that Sidious knew about the Yuzhan Vong, and that's why he had the Death Star and the Imperial military beefed up as much as he did, because he knew eventually the Yuzhan Vong were going to invade, and he was going to make sure his empire wasn't ill prepared.
That was actually confirmed that was confirmed in the Vong War books. He's like, why do you think we built the Death Star? It wasn't just to sow fear throughout the galaxy. It was to protect the galaxy. And they're like, well,
and you idiots blew it up.
Exactly. And you fucking idiots ruined everything. I mean, Centerpoint Station was also a very good tool, but still. I mean, Centerpoint really shook the hell out of the Vong when it fired, because it was Thraken Cell Solo that just grabbed the freaking trigger and just pulled it, and he's like, fuck off, get the hell out of the way, I'm doing this. Poof, and wiped out half the freaking Hapen fleet along with the Vong fleet, and the Vong's like, I can respect whoever did that because they sacrificed half their own fleet, because the Vong were sacrifice worshippers, man. They've worshipped everything that was death related. And it's But I also like how Leia truly she felt through the Force the death that was coming. She's like, oh my God. And then suddenly it just happens, and it's like, oh shit. I mean, it was beautifully done. But back to the episode 3, do you remember where George Lucas was in that movie?
Yeah, he was actually in the
opera scene.
The opera singer, and that girl actually was his daughter.
Yep,
the one that he was he was there with his oldest daughter, I think it was, or one of his kids.
It was Katie Lucas. She was who also became a writer for the Clone Wars series a little bit. But when my aunt said that there was that he had a God damn it, cameo in it, he was dressed up as an Imperial or as one of the Imperials, and I'm looking over that entire scene on the Death Star, or on the Star Destroyer, and I'm not seeing him anywhere. And it's like, I've combed over that scene so many fucking times. So then I'm watching the audio commentary, and it's like, and there's George Lucas. And I'm like, son of a bitch, my aunt had it wrong, but he was in it. She was right about that.
Oh, I hate Facebook right now.
Boy, what's going on Facebook?
One of my friends I went to college with just got out of Rise of Skywalker.
And he's loving it?
Well, to quote him, he's feeling happy. And
popcorn fan.
Goody for you, you freaking normie.
Hey, the thing is, if anybody enjoys it, I'm not gonna fault them for it. They can enjoy it if they want. The only thing I ask is that they acknowledge that it was flawed.
Well, he said it wasn't perfect, but he said it was a good ending to the Skywalker saga. I'm like, the Skywalker saga ended in 1983, you freaking normie. Okay.
But yeah, it's not the Skywalker saga.
Yeah, that's a bunch of bull, but we'll take care of that tomorrow night.
Yeah, tomorrow night.
Yeah, tomorrow night. Tonight is a happy night. Tonight is a happy night. Happy. Keep the rage. Keep the rage simmered. Keep it in a nice little jar in my brain until tomorrow. Then I will release it upon the world.
Exactly.
I think Adega is wanting to get into Indiana, Jones. So let's try.
the Jones now.
let's. Do you want to give me final comments on Revenge of the Sith, and then I'll do mine. Then we'll jump into Indiana Jones.
Yeah,
Because
Palpatine did.
go ahead.
Padme killed Padme.
Oh, Padme killed Padme.
Yeah,
Palpatine had nothing to do with it. Is that what you said?
yeah. Padme didn't, or Palpatine didn't kill Padme. Padme killed Padme.
Yeah. Shia, I get that reference.
Ambassador, calm down. All is well.
All is well. All is well. I know that reference. I just can't think of the movie right. Oh, National Lampoon Animal House.
Yep. Adiga, we are not getting into Crystal Skull like
No.
Master said. We're talking to the trilogy.
Yeah, it is a trilogy, not a quadrilogy. It is a trilogy. Kingdom of the Crystal Skull was a bad idea conceived by a man that we all respect and love, but it was still a bad idea.
Yeah.
But we will be talking. We will be talking specifically about Raiders of the Lost Ark, Temple of Doom, and Last Crusade. There will be no discussion of Crystal Skull here. Save that for the crappier channels.
Exactly.
Or we might do that as a bad 2000s movie or something at some point. I might do a review of it, or we might do a live stream of bad movies from the 2000s at some point. Because that was definitely a bad movie, and that was definitely during a dark time of my life because I was with my ex-wife at the time. But yeah, Orange, any final thoughts on Revenge of the Sith before we move along?
Yeah, I gave him. Palpatine didn't kill Padme. Padme killed Padme.
Yeah. And Hayden Christensen is not a block of wood. He just had a really bad script.
Exactly.
All right. I wish I remembered my fedora and had the camera on because I've got a really nice Indiana Jones-esque fedora that I wear on occasion, particularly for special occasions like the holidays. So,
Nice.
ladies and gentlemen, we will now jump feet first into Indiana Jones. But now here's the question. Where do we start? Do we start with the prequels, like Temple of Doom, or do we go chronologically with how the movies were released?
I think chronologically.
So chronologically within universe, or chronologically as they were released?
As they were released.
Okay, I'm good with that.
Yeah, the Raiders of the Lost Ark was the first one. Then it was Temple of Doom. Temple of Doom. Then Last Crusade.
Yeah. So, well, just kind of kicking this off, and then Orange. Well, actually, Orange, do you want me to kick it off, or do you want to?
Your channel. You kick it off.
Okay. And Adega, I sent you a link if you want to join and everything. If you feel up to it, if you don't, that's cool too. So just an FYI, check your Twitter inbox. But honestly, the only one of the Indiana Jones movies I saw in theater was Last Crusade because I was too young at the time and everything to see the other two. But whenever they were on TV, I always watched them. They were a lot of fun. And it was honestly the thing I liked most about the Indiana Jones movies, in particular, Raiders of the Lost Ark, was the fact that it dealt with a little bit of theology, it dealt with a little bit of Christian history and everything in terms, well, Jewish history / Christian history and everything in terms of the Ark of the Covenant itself. And I honestly thought that was a really nice melding of real world things and full fantasy-esque material and all, because obviously these movies were as well as the Star Wars, the original trilogy, were a throwback to what Lucas had grown up on, especially what Spielberg had grown up on as kids. And I honestly think one of the neatest things about Indiana Jones was
you got this idea he was at times very together, but at the same time he could lose. He was very much a together guy, but at the same time how do I want to frame this, or how do I want to word this?
He
He could
lost his
screw up.
shit every time a woman was around.
he could he could he could screw up. He was together. He was a good teacher, but honestly, I think he only did teaching because his father was a teacher himself.
Exactly.
Because he obviously didn't think he could make enough of a living as an archaeologist and an adventurer and whatever.
Well, it was also his cover, really, too, because the university that he taught for was also funding his expeditions sometimes.
Yes, and so was the museum that his friend. What's his face?
Buddy.
Brody.
Can't remember. Yeah.
Marcus Brody. Yeah, played by Home Elliott. Marcus Brody. Marcus Brody, sir.
You'll never find him. He speaks 7 languages.
Hey.
He'll blend in.
All right, we got a Adega. Hold on one second. Hey, man, good to have you on. Glad you're here. Adega?
Check to see if your microphone is plugged in, buddy.
Okay, Orange, go ahead and everything. He'll pop on and everything when he's ready. He may not realize that he's on.
There.
Okay.
We still can't hear you, bub.
You were talking about Marcus Brody.
Yeah, I think it was Temple of Doom, or was it the Last Crusade, where they were looking for Brody and it
was Last Crusade.
Yeah, we'll have to get into that one when we get to Last Crusade, but
yeah,
it was just so great. I mean, in Raiders of the Lost Ark, the part that creeped me out the most was the spiders all over his back and this and that.
At the opening, yeah,
and
the opening adventure where they're trying to get the little idol.
Yeah, when they were getting the idol and whatnot. But then
the Jovito statuette.
Yep. And then later on, or when they were on the ship where Marion and Indy were on the ship, and she flips the mirror and smacks him in the face.
Oh, man.
And
you
they
cringe.
cut to outside the ship and you hear, ah! It's like, oh, Jesus Christ, man.
Yeah, it's like, oh, man, you feel for him in that moment. He's like, everything hurts. And she's like, well, damn it, Indy, where does it hurt? He's like, well, here. And he points to his elbow. And here.
And then she starts kissing it, and then it leads to a nice little tender scene.
Oh, just off-screen tender scene.
Yeah. But it's like, holy shit, dude. I mean, I love the scene with the snakes, though, with the freaking how the snakes slither through her open-toed shoe.
Oh, man. It's okay, man.
And the way the cobra came up.
Yeah, and do you know how they actually did that shot?
Yep, they put a piece of glass between her and the cobra.
Well, it was him and the cobra, because there's this. It's first he falls in, and the cobra pops up, and they've got that piece of clear plexiglass between him and the cobra. And Jeff B, good to see you, sir. Glad you're here. And Adega, don't worry about it. Next time, and everything. If you can figure out if you can figure out what's wrong with your mic, you can come right back in, bud. Just let me know. But yeah, all my life, I have shared that same problem with snakes that Indiana Jones does, and I'm like, snakes. Why does it always have to be snakes?
Yeah. I mean, but yeah, one of the greatest things of cinematic history that actually marked my childhood was the end of Raiders of the Lost Ark, when they opened the Ark. And where the face melts and all that stuff. It's like,
Oh
Where-
man, and that was such a cool effect.
Yes, it was. I mean, it showed you that they did great wax work.
Oh yeah,
And they just rapidly melted them. Like, I can't remember exactly what they did, but I think they, like, without using blow torches, just blasted as much heat as they could to rapidly melt it. Or
Mhm.
I think they just did it normal speed, but they sped it up after in post. But it was just beautifully done.
Hey Jeff B, do you want to come on and join us or anything? I can send you a link. I'm just trying to remember. I can't remember your Twitter handle. Anything? Just shoot me a message on my end or anything if you do, and I'll send you the link. But yeah, and Jeff B, we'll get to Sean Connery in a little bit because yes, he was one of the best parts of Last Crusade. Honestly, right now we're talking about
Sean Connery is my favorite actor.
I think he's a lot of people's favorite actor, honestly.
I mean, that dude was.
He was.
I could geek out on him.
Oh, okay. No worries then, Jeff.
I could definitely geek out on Sean Connery. I mean,
well,
hang on. The way he just perfectly played. He perfectly played Henry Jones Sr., but he was very versatile in his acting as well. But yeah, so
okay.
I mean, Raiders is actually my least favorite out of them. I mean, Last Crusade is my absolute favorite.
Right?
Yep, it is.
Hey, there he is. Right on,
It was,
right on, brother. Glad you.
Something with the link. I don't know what the deal was.
Huh.
Okay.
It happens.
Well, hey, it happens. Don't worry about it. Glad you're here now. Yeah, we're just ruminating about Raiders of the Lost Ark. So, your thoughts? So,
Did we lose your audio again, Adiga? Yep, I think we lost his audio again.
Dang nabbit. Well, if he gets it working, he can jump in.
Yeah. I also do like the drinking scene, the drinking competition scene, where the dude's he's just freaking. Oh, yep, there you are. You're back.
There you are.
Where he's just smiling and then he just falls back and he's basically dead.
I don't know if he's dead. He lost the drinking game to Marion, and here's the weird thing. You don't actually know if that's a guy or if it's a woman. That's going up against Marion.
True.
At first,
I hate to assume, but yeah.
Oh, this is a non-PC,
I know, I'm joking.
Yeah, I know.
It's definitely a guy, though, in my opinion, because I didn't see any feminine features, really. It's just like a big dude that just couldn't take his liquor, and he just passed right out, smiling. It's like, yeah, dude, you lost to a woman, so she's beautiful.
Oh, yeah.
So the last thing you saw that night was a beautiful woman drinking you under the table.
Jeff B, I put the link and everything in the chat if that will work or anything if you want to join that way. It's up to you. But I think the other one of the honestly, that's one of the really cool things about the Indiana Jones movies, in particular Raiders of the Lost Ark, is you have so many great little vignette scenes and everything that just kind of stand alone on their own so well, but they are part of a greater whole. And I honestly like the part at the beginning where the two government agents, the two G-men, come to the university, and Jones and everything is having to pull together all of his materials last minute, and
just go right out the window.
Well, no, that part doesn't happen. You're thinking of that's in Last Crusade where that part happens.
Yeah, that's right. Oops.
Yeah, it's okay.
Was it
huh?
Was Raiders the one where the woman was blinking "I love you" to him, or was that also Last Crusade?
That was Last Crusade, I think.
That might have been. No, I think it was Raiders of the Lost Ark because you have that panning shot across the classroom, and it zooms in on the one girl who writes "love you" on her eyelids and blinks, and he looks in and he's like, "Am I reading what I'm thinking I'm reading?" Because you have to think about it. He's not a bad looking guy, and I think a lot of the girls and everything would take him just because he is such like to use their terminology from the 1930s. He's so dreamy.
Basically, yeah, they were all fawning over him and whatnot.
Yeah, because he was relatively young. He was probably maybe in his late 20s, early 30s at best.
He was in his 30s because I believe the movies were in the 80s.
Well, I'm talking about
no, he was. Oh,
It
you're
had to
talking
have been
about the character.
30s because
I'm talking about the character himself. I'm talking about Henry Jones.
Yeah.
Jones and everything would have been like in maybe his 30s or his late 20s or 30s and everything.
Yeah.
But he knew his stuff so well. And okay, Shia had it. It was Raiders in the classroom.
Yep.
Adega, me and Orange have been talking for a little bit. What are some of your thoughts? Some of your favorite?
Last time I was in on your stream and I saw, I won't say anything, but last thing I want to do is interrupt Orange Hat.
Dude, take it away, man. I've been going off on a while, man.
No,
Adega,
I'm still
please.
working on this, and my rig here is acting up. The problem is I'm using a tablet for this, and the stuff where I do all my other business is by where everyone in the house is sleeping, and if I got on that, I'd wake everybody up. So I'm
using a Kindle right now.
I'm on my laptop in our study with a webcam hooked up to my. I don't have a fancy rig. This is what I've got, but it seems to work, so I'm not going to complain. So, dude, you're
I'm
good.
using a Kindle.
Yeah,
I
have a
If
Kindle.
it comes through good on your guys' end, that's great. Me, I'm listening to popcorn.
Yeah, we do get a little bit of popcorn here and there.
Yeah, a little bit, but it's not that bad. So go ahead and chime in with your thoughts, please.
No, let me get caught up first. You guys go ahead.
Okay.
But yeah, Raiders. Did you know that Captain America, the first Captain America movie, actually has a Indiana Jones reference to it?
That doesn't surprise me.
I mean, when he finds when Red Skull finds the Tesseract, and he's like, and the Führer hunts for trinkets in the desert. And it's like, yeah, that's an Indiana Jones reference right there. But yeah, I also like how the Nazi comes to her bar and whatnot and gets into a fight with
guy.
And he burns his hand and it has it on his hand, or the inscription on his hand.
He has the medallion of the staff of Ra.
Yep.
And he's like, hey, oh, bleep. Because I'm not going to say the full thing here. I don't want to get a strike or anything. I'm just quoting the movie.
Yeah.
But that guy is so intimidating, but at the same time, you're like, you probably couldn't whip a wet paper bag.
Exactly. I mean,
and then you've got, and then you've got the great big German officer or German mechanic and everything when they're there in Egypt and everything, they're Tanis and everything, and they're under him and Indiana are flying underneath that flying wing.
Oh my God! I remember when I was at Universal Studios when they reenacted that. When the propeller is just about to hit the guy, they blow a lot of smoke up and the guy just disappears. I'm guessing it was a trapdoor in the thing where he just dropped through.
Wouldn't surprise me.
I liked the movie better because it shows a little bit more finality.
Oh yeah, you see
the blood.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you see the blood firing up against the side of the plane.
Yeah, but it's like, oh shit, yeah, he's dead.
Yeah, he's not in the Reich anymore.
Yep, his Third Reich's not coming for you, man.
And yeah, the great thing about one of the other great things about Raiders is that whole chase scene and everything, where he's going after the Ark and everything. He's talking to Sala and Marion, and they're like, "What are you gonna do?" He's like, "I don't know. I'm making this up as I go."
Yeah, there was a freaking, or Sala was also with Brody, and they see him, and he's like, or he's shaking their hands. He's trying, and he's like, "Run," and he's like, "Yeah, just hold on." It's like, "Run," and Brody's just not picking it up.
Orange.
He's like, "Run, run, run!" It's like, Jesus Christ,
Orange, you're
man.
talking. You're jumping ahead to Last Crusade, but that's okay.
Oh shit! Yeah, that's right. God damn it! I keep on getting those two mixed up. But
Well, they're both. That's the
Something
great
I
thing
liked
about them is
more
they are.
about the first one. Something I
Huh?
liked more about the first one than anything else, and this isn't going on track with what actually happened in the movie besides the cinema stuff, is maybe it's just me, but to me, like the first one compared to the third one, it took the director a much shorter amount of time to get you to like the main characters. Where
yeah,
later on, it was more flash and bang and boom. And the first one, it seemed they were able to tell the story and get you to like the characters all within 2 minutes. It's a kind of an
Yeah.
art that you don't see
Yeah.
too much anymore. And that's what I thought was really cool about that. They could throw a
Well, the
character in at any point in the movie and instantly you knew who they were, whether or not you liked them, and it fit into the plot.
Yeah. Well, because if you think about it, Sala does not have that much screen time in Raiders of the Lost Ark, but at the same, but you have a great actor portray him in John Rhys Davies, and
oh yeah,
you instantaneously connect with this guy, and you're like, okay, I like. Yes, Jeff B. Yes, he was. That was John Rhys Davies. That was
Yep, it
Gimli
was.
playing.
Now, was
But
the
yeah,
bad dates in Raiders?
Bad Dates was in Raiders. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, that I thought
Yeah.
so, because it's like
Because
that was another one that I remembered so much, and he tosses one up to eat, and he just catches. He's like, "Bad dates," and he
Bad
catches the
Dates.
dead monkey.
well, the dead
like,
monkey
oh,
is
that
just
poor
laying.
monkey.
Yeah, I was laying on the floor. The little
Yeah.
Nazi monkey.
Yeah, I know, right? It was a
Even
spy
monkeys
monkey,
can
but
be Nazis.
yes, they can.
Yeah, they both have about the
They're
same
in
mentality.
colleges
One
across
track.
the country.
What?
Well, I just said, even monkeys could be Nazis. They're in colleges throughout the country.
Exactly.
That's a good one.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. That's actually a good one. But I think honestly, I will say this and everything, and this is me kind of pulling my theology and Christian education brain cap on and everything. I like the fact that they kept the design of the Ark accurate to how it's described in Scripture, because they could have done just about anything they wanted and everything in how they designed the Ark, but they went to biblical Scripture and how it's depicted and everything in Scripture and how it's depicted in drawings and whatnot, and they kept it accurate. But it still had that. It still had that sense of both mystery, but also awe. Well, dread and also awe. Because as
Fun fact,
mhm,
back in the late 70s,
mhm.
and I doubt you'll be able to find any information on this because they shut it down really quick. It was one of the, because I grew up in California, I think it was Cal State, or maybe it was, San Diego, I think, where they actually tried to remake the Ark, go by the exact specifications, and they got so far along the thing started generating heat and power, and it was out of control. They actually had to bury the project, and where it went from there, no one knows.
I did not know that.
Also,
Thank you for
another
sharing
fun
that.
fact.
Exact gold plating, same wood, everything.
Yeah, because it was acacia wood.
Oh,
Right.
shit.
Well, and to kind of go, and I don't want to go off on a big rabbit trail on this, but there's actually rumor. There's a story that goes around that there is a church in Ethiopia that claims that they have the original Ark.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, but they won't let anyone see it, and they keep it under strict guard. and they don't let anybody near it. And most of the people that live in that area know not to. They'll go to the church and everything. They'll gather for worship at the church, but they know not to disturb it. Because as Belloc said, it is not of this world. And he's right.
True.
Well, there's two
And-
things about that. One, either they could be right, and it really is that, important where they keep it sacred, which would be a good thing. Or
Yes.
it's one heck of a way to keep parishioners in line by faking the whole thing. So either way,
Mhm. And I can
Let's
see
see
your
how it
point on
works.
that, even though I can see your point and everything. I can see what you're saying, even though I am like I mentioned, I am a theology major. I am a Christian and everything. I can see your point there. But
Another fun fact before we continue, did you also know that the Ark of the Covenant was in the Clone Wars series?
what?
Yep. First season, where Wat Tamber was on Ryloth and they were packing up the treasures. If you look in the background when they're loading up the ships, you actually see 2 battle droids hauling in the Ark of the Covenant.
Huh? That's a neat little Easter egg. Good
Yep.
eye. I'll have
wow.
to look that
And
up on
third
YouTube.
season, they had the Crystal Skull in there too.
Yeah, but who cares about that?
Exactly.
Who cares about a crystal skull? The Ark of the Covenant's a lot cooler.
But they also
Well,
have the Staff of Ra in one of them too, or in one of the seasons as well. I think it's second season.
Really? Huh? Okay.
Spielberg
Yeah, they did
and Lucas
so many freaking
for
things.
quite a while. Spielberg and Lucas for quite a while were throwing Easter eggs at both people's movies back and forth. Like
yeah.
in
Well,
the
just a
Senate,
quick.
there's a bunch of
Yeah.
ETs.
Yeah.
Yep.
I was actually, you beat me by 2
Episode
seconds.
1 ETs, yeah.
Yeah. Well, the fact is, the two of them had worked together so long and could collaborate on so many things that they had respect for each other. And they're like, "Hey, George, you mind if I do this?" "No, Steven, do you mind if I do this?" And like, "No." But and here's the other cool thing, and I think honestly, Spielberg has never come out and said it outright, but the fact that he is a practicing Jew, and everything, at least to some degree, and the fact that he deals with Jewish culture and everything, particular ancient Jewish culture in Raiders of the Lost Ark, because you have Belloc there at the end, and he's dressed as a high priest. So he's got the whole get up and everything that's accurate, because the Nazis are actually leery about it because it is a Jewish ritual. The one officer, he's like, "I'm not sure if we should do this Jewish ritual." And Belloc's like, "Well, do you want to open it here on this island, or do you want to open it in Berlin for the Fuhrer and it not be right?"
Exactly.
And obviously they let him go through it with it. But I think honestly, while I don't know how accurate that whole ending scene is and everything, honestly, I think that's not necessarily a bad depiction of what the Ark could be capable of doing, because it's obviously in the presence of evil, because you've got all those Nazis there and everything. You've got Belloc, and he's not Jewish, and he's dressed like a Jewish high priest and everything from back
It was
in.
punishing sacrilege, basically.
Oh, yeah. God was punishing them for what they did. What they were doing was sacrilegious. It was blasphemous, and he wasn't going to stand for it, and they paid for it.
Exactly.
The only plot hole, and I don't know if either one of you can explain this, because this is one thing that's always been maybe it's just something I missed, or maybe it's slipping my mind. Why is it that now obviously Jones and Marion have to survive, but why is it that they keep their if they keep their eyes shut, they're safe?
It's because you are looking upon the divine when that ark is opened. You are looking at divine power, and divine power is not meant for the eyes of mortal man.
Yeah, or at least not for God's not chosen. For those that are not God's chosen people, because the Israelites were God's chosen people, and that was one of their instruments that was given to them by God. So, yeah, that makes perfect sense.
Well, when they marched with it, they have it covered up. When it was in both the tent temple and the constructed temple, it was hid away. People who touched it, who weren't permitted, died. So, yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, it was killing
that would make
rats.
Anything
Oh,
unclean.
excuse me. It was
Oh, you're
killing
good.
rats. It was burning the wood that was housing it and everything.
Yeah,
Until they housed it in wood at the end of the movie.
Yeah, and then it just sat quiet
Yeah.
and safe and asleep and dormant in that United States government warehouse out in the middle of the desert
Yeah.
at Area
It shows
51
up
or
in-
wherever.
Yeah, it shows
and-
up in
and
that fan fiction
Yeah, in that bad
movie. Yeah.
fan fiction. Yes. But any other thoughts on Raiders y'all want to share?
Yeah. Don't eat dates that monkeys want to have or that eat them too.
Oh, and
Two things. Either it's bad dates, the monkeys paid on the dates, or they're not dates at all, and the monkey had some bad fiber.
There you go.
and Jeff B actually brings up a good point and everything here. We'll use this to close out. Ford was sick during the sword fight and ad-libbed everything. I don't know if anyone.
Oh,
if
I
either of
heard
you.
it. I heard it different. I heard that he was just so tired of having to do the take over and over again. He just pulled out his gun and went for a sandwich, and they kept it. But
No, he was actually. I think he had the flu or pneumonia or something. He looked bad.
Yeah.
He was in bad shape. So they're like, okay, we'll just, because it was supposed to be some big long fight scene between him and the sword fighter, and Spielberg was like, okay, screw it, Harrison, just ad lib, and Harrison just pulls out the gun, shoots the guy falls down, and they go on. But
funny thing, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Funny thing before we get too far, you guys mentioned the collaborations of George Lucas and Steven Spielberg. Did you know that both their first major works, Jaws and Episode 7, both of them ended up having heart attacks?
That doesn't
afterward.
surprise. Yeah, because of stress.
Wow. Yep.
Yeah.
It's like, damn, dude, all the greats end up nearly killing themselves after their first great work.
Yeah, and the little weasels like J.J. Abrams and Rian Johnson, they don't even stress.
Exactly, because it was a way different time back then.
Those guys took their craft seriously. And I think that's one of the great reasons why these movies have lasted as long as they have, regardless of what these little butt wipes are coming up now doing and everything.
Exactly.
These movies...
It's a difference between an art form and a high-budgeted project.
Yeah.
Very true. He just put it perfectly.
Yeah. Because the original trilogy, and I know there are going to be detractors for the prequels, even the prequel trilogy, they are works of art. Everything that Lucas and Spielberg have done throughout their careers, whether it did magnanimously well or was not that good,
spectacular failure.
Yeah, a spectacular failure, they still put forth the effort. They busted their butts to make these movies as good as they possibly could make them, and they put their own health on one line to do it. I mean, for crying out loud, for anybody who has watched Empire of Dreams, you see what happened to Lucas when he was trying to get the first Star Wars movie made. He was starting up his own company. He was starting up ILM. He was trying to find somebody that would fund his project.
Yep. I mean,
and
Alan Ladd quit or was fired after or because of it too.
Yeah, because was Ladd fired after Jedi or before Jedi? I can't remember.
He was fired after Star Wars or after A New Hope.
Damn. Yeah. That sounds
because I think it was A New Hope because Alan Ladd Jr. had fought for George, and it was just not looking too good. And then after the commercial success of Star Wars, they're like, you stepped on some majorly big toes, Mr. Ladd Jr., so yeah, we can't have somebody like you in the
Which I think was stupid.
You're not going to fight with, or if you're not going to side with the corporation.
Yeah, which was monstrously stupid on 20th Century Fox's part.
Oh yeah, but remember George Lucas's science movie, as they put it, it's like there was, or back then it was a lot of problems. There was a lot of major problems.
Mm-hmm. Well, and Jeff B brings up an interesting point here, and we'll kind of we'll transition back onto Raiders and then back into Indiana Jones proper. Blockbuster films have spent too much money on tinsel and not enough on good writing.
Very true.
Yeah, because if you think about it, Jaws was was the first termed blockbuster movie, because the whole term blockbuster
100 mil
meant that you had people. Well, not just that, but it was the first one where people were wrapped around more multiple street blocks and everything, waiting to get into a movie.
Mm-hmm.
And Jaws was the very first one that ever did it. And I think it opened the door for all these blockbuster movies, and it was Spielberg's first blockbuster, and he's had a consistently good track record with movies ever since, even up to now. I mean, the man's been going at it 40 some odd years, if not longer, and his name is still respected in Hollywood.
50
regardless
years.
of what it's been. Has it been 50 years?
40 years. No, 40 years. You're right.
Yeah. And
45 almost.
I think, yeah. The amazing thing about Raiders is you had a great cast, you had a compelling story, you had a great score by, of course, John Williams. That man is a beast when it comes to making music. He's our
Genius.
Mozart. He's our Beethoven, for crying out loud. The man is a musical titan.
Agreed.
And
John Williams is my favorite composer to date.
yeah, I mean, like I just said, he's our modern day Beethoven, Mozart, and Handel, and every other major composer from the last century, all wrapped into one beautiful package. And he has been a consistently good commercial orchestra leader. And you can't get enough of his music. You go back and you re-listen to it over and over and over again. I mean, you hear the first few opening bars of the Raiders theme or Indiana Jones theme, you're like, oh crap, I love this movie. I love this music. Let's do it. I mean, even when they did, I think they even had the score for the video games, because I think they did at least 1 or 2 video games in the Indiana Jones franchise. But they were after, I think they were way after Last Crusade. I think it was on the first, Xbox and maybe the second PlayStation consoles. But
back in the 80s, they had an arcade game that had all the music in it. It was a Temple of Doom stand-up, and you could hear all the music in that. And it made it worth playing. It was a pretty cheesy game, but the music and score kept you going.
I even think they had a pinball machine or anything for, I think it was either Raiders or Last Crusade and everything that had the music programmed into it as well. And I'm like, I remember playing it, and it was like, dang, this is a lot of fun. Even if I'm sucking at it, I've got the music for Indiana Jones, and I've got some of the dialogue.
Yeah.
But any other thoughts on Raiders y'all want to share? And I'll chime in with my 2 cents, and we'll move on to Temple.
Bad dates. Don't eat them.
Okay. Did you get anything?
Nope. All good here.
Okay.
So be careful when you're around a Nazi airplane. Other than that, good.
Yeah.
Yeah, indeed. If you see a big, giant Nazi mechanic wanting to fight you, don't. Just duck. Just duck and either fall to the ground and wait for the... Yeah. wait for the propeller to hit, or just run, because more likely you could probably outrun him. But moving on to honestly, what a lot of people say is the darkest of the three Indiana Jones movies and everything, Temple of Doom. A lot of people didn't care for this one, and I can kind of understand why, but at the same time, there's still a lot of good parts to it. And I think the biggest gripe everybody has is the female lead, Kate Capshaw. Excuse me.
My wife hates her because she screamed the whole time.
That
For the most part, yeah.
The only reason she got the part is because I think she was stooping Spielberg at the time, at least was the rumor.
Yeah, that was the rumor.
And wasn't Spielberg married at the time? Oh, wait a minute.
So was Lucas.
Weren't him and Capshaw married?
I believe so. But
Okay,
hey,
well,
that's how it was done back in Hollywood.
Yeah, at least it was someone on the up and up. At least they were married.
Yeah. I mean, or freaking Temple of Doom, man. I only remember two parts, basically. The beginning and the parts in India. And it's like, holy shit, man. Where they're in the club and he starts laughing and he's like, yeah, what's that? Antidote for what? The poison you just drank. Oh, shit, man.
Oh, and does everybody
That's where we first see Kathleen Kennedy.
Oh.
Right.
Really?
Yeah, she was one of the dancers.
Oh.
And she was a co-producer of that movie.
I didn't know she was one of the dancers.
Yeah,
wow. I think I'm going to be sick.
I think I'm going to heave.
I think I just did.
I honestly did not know that. I did not know Kathleen Kennedy was one of the dancers at the beginning of Temple of Doom. No wonder it's called the Temple of Doom, because she's in it.
She is the Temple of Doom.
She is the other high priest of Kali.
Kalima. Yeah.
You have betrayed Shiva.
Dude, woman, I will rip your heart out. Oh my gosh. But yeah, man, that was one hell. Hey, lady, you call him Dr. Jones.
Short Round. And here's the funny thing about Short Round. He was in Goonies.
Yep. He was in Goonies.
Because he
Short
played.
Round was an awesome actor.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is.
That kid is like 50 years old now or some shit.
And he still looks good.
I haven't seen him since.
He looks good for his age. They just did an anniversary picture of the cast from Goonies, and most of them still look pretty good for their age. I mean, granted, they're not that terribly old, but still. But
I wonder what Mongoloid looks like now. Still looks like a Mongoloid?
Orange, be nice.
I'm joking.
I know. Honestly, I think that that's the great thing about all three Indiana Jones movies, that you have great opening little mini adventures at each one. But honestly, I think of the three, the one in Temple of Doom is my favorite, truth be told.
The chase through China.
Well, not just that, but the whole scene in the club itself and everything, because Lao She is played so well and everything by that one actor.
Yeah.
He's slimy, he's crooked, he's some sort of criminal or whatever, but he's got a certain charm about him.
He was Jean-Claude Van Damme's master in Bloodsport.
Yeah, he was. And he was also...
Sorry. I have to kind of disagree with you. I like River Phoenix in the third one. I thought that whole Boy Scout thing was awesome. Don't get me wrong. The beginning of Doom was great, but...
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying my personal favorite is the one in Temple of Doom. I'm not saying the one in Last Crusade isn't good. It is good. It is very much. Oh, yeah. It is very good and everything. But the one in Temple of Doom, it's got so many moving parts to it and everything. And because you got the whole fight and everything, and once again, Jones is halfway out of it, halfway through the entire fight, and it's like it's almost a comedy of errors and everything, where half the time is screwing up, but half the time he's succeeding, and eventually he does get the antidote and does save his life. And then, of course, you've got the part and everything where they're in the car and everything, and he's reaching down her dress to get to the antidote, and you're thinking, Harrison, do you know whose dress you're reaching into? That's the director's wife.
Yeah.
It was a trick of the camera.
Something like that, maybe.
I mean,
And
I
she's
just
like-
love
There was
when
a chastity
yeah.
bra under there.
There you go.
Well, if she was wearing a bra, it didn't have much of a strap on the back, because you remember that dress she was wearing had no back to it practically.
Yep, you're right. It didn't.
So she was probably going a little bit commando, at least on the top.
No, I'm sure she was doing way more than just going commando on top, man. I'm willing to bet she was wearing nothing on bottom either. I mean, I'm willing to bet she would have jumped freaking Harrison's bones in that car if that kid wasn't in it. I mean, everybody
Oh.
wanted a piece of Harrison at that time.
Well, of course, he had just done.
Even Carrie Fisher.
Well, yeah, we know how that turned out.
Yeah, they actually did have an affair.
Yeah, but the weird thing was, it was only when they were shooting.
Yep. Well,
Oh,
I think it was
good grief.
Empire Strikes Back when they were actually having the affair, or was it
Yeah.
Return of the Jedi? Because
No, it was Empire, because she
Yeah,
had a
because A
massive
New
crush
Hope-
on him.
yeah, A New Hope, she was only 18, and he was not touching any of that.
No, and yeah. But anyway, getting back to Temple of Doom. Fun fact, and this is probably a gimme for everybody. Does everybody remember the name of the club?
Oh, fuck, I'm drawing a blank. Temple of Doom is the most forgettable on me. I mean, I remember the beginning, I remember the end, and I also remember a little bit in between and whatnot.
I remember the whole thing, but that's just me.
I haven't
Jacob, do you
seen
remember
Temple of Doom in, like 7 years, I think.
I saw it last month, and I'm racking my brain. I can't remember what it was.
Well, it's actually a Star Wars reference. The name of the club is Club Obi-Wan.
Oh my gosh,
Really?
that's right. Fuck, that is right.
Yep, Club Obi-Wan.
Obi-Wan.
And I think that the one British officer guy or whatever it was, or anything that meets him at the plane, I think it was Dan Aykroyd.
I don't know. It didn't. I didn't recognize it if it was.
No, I don't think. Hold on, I'm gonna ask my Echo Dot here.
Okay.
Alexa, was Dan Aykroyd in Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom?
Yes, Dan Aykroyd is in the movie Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom.
Well, that answers it. He was.
I knew it. Yep. He was. He's like Dr. Jones. We were able to acquire your tickets and everything, but you will be flying on a cargo plane, not a regular airliner. And then, of course, it turns out the airliner is owned by
Yeah.
Lao Shay.
Yep, Lao Shay.
Wow.
He's like,
He's
I
like,
just love it. He's like, bye bye, Lao Shay. And he's like, bye
Better
bye,
luck
Dr.
next-
Jones. Laughing his ass off on the takeoff.
yeah, because it's his freaking cargo plane, and he waves to the pilots, and the pilots wave back to him like, "Yep, we know, kill the guy or crash the plane."
We'll just freaking jump out of the plane
yeah,
and take the
just,
chutes while we're at it.
no more parachutes. And okay, again, I know that this borders on the edge of believability, but I think that the part where they jump out of the plane with the freaking inflatable raft, it's ridiculous, but it's also cool. It's a cool sequence. It is a really cool sequence, and it's a great depiction of action advancing the story.
Mm-hmm. I can agree with that. And now that you actually mentioned it, I can actually view that scene in my head a little bit.
Yeah, because they're supposedly falling through the air, and they're supposedly going down the side of a mountain, but you can tell it's obviously green screen.
Oh,
That
don't
they
you mean
don't.
the monkey brains, Mr. Jeff B?
I
mean,
recall
oh
the
my
elephant
gosh,
ride and
man,
the
that whole scene where they're having all the different, where they're eating all the different animals and shit.
Dessert.
It's like,
Oh,
oh my gosh,
Monkey
man.
brains.
They sliced that. Did they slice that freaking snake open? And was it baby
Oh,
snakes
yeah,
that
and
came
all the
out, or
little
was it the
snakes.
guts?
Eels came out. They sliced it, and eels came out.
Yeah,
Oh my
and,
gosh, man.
and
It
the
was
one
just
guy.
so.
I honestly, that scene is so gross, but yet so cool and so dang funny, especially when you've got the reaction of Short Round and the singer.
What's her name?
Kate
Yeah.
Capshaw. Willie Scott.
Yeah, Willie Scott. I knew it was two guy names that that was her name.
Yeah. Jeff B goes, nom nom.
Num num. Nom num.
Hey, when in
And
India,
for dessert, monkey brains.
Yes,
Do you
when
have
in
anything?
India-
I just love that. Do you have anything simple like soup?
Like soup.
And she's just smelling it, and
And
she starts stirring it, and the eyes just come out, and she's like,
pop eyeball
her
soup.
mind just goes, it's like, all right, I'm done, and then she
She just passes out. Well, actually, no, she doesn't pass out until the chilled monkey brains for dessert. And honestly, of all the dishes, that sounds actually kind of interesting. I wouldn't mind trying it. As long as it's not like whipped cream and
I
cherries.
know what brains are made of. That's not very good for you.
Yeah, I know,
Well,
right?
It's mostly
Provided that they're-
cholesterol.
Oh shit!
Well, where I live,
He's right.
yeah, shy is
Beatles, yum.
Yeah.
The dining scene, gross. Yeah.
I honestly, as gross as that scene is, I love it. I legitimately do. I mean,
I could
It's one of
have
the-
eaten those eels. That wouldn't have been a problem. Probably the
I don't
beetles,
think I
too.
could have done it.
But the monkey
No.
brains would not have gone.
Well, if I remember correctly from the special features, I think the monkey brains were just a mix of Jello and something else.
Well, it might have been frozen gel because you remember they had a little bit of a crunch to them.
Yeah.
So, or it could have been some sort of ice cream even.
Yep.
But they
And
just
the
kind of
sound
molded.
they made when they lifted the heads open and put them down, they looked
Oh,
like a jar sound. I'm just going, oh, yeah.
yeah,
There you go.
that is so.
Quality
Yeah.
sound effects.
I will say I like the one guy that's the spokesman for the Maharaja, Rajan Seth. He is such a
Yeah.
cool actor, and they had so many really good Indonesian actors in that movie because they had the guy that played the prime minister, you had the kid that played the Maharaja, you had the guy that played Molaram, and you're like, dang, these guys can act.
Oh yeah.
And I mean,
The
I
stone
know
will
some-
be found. You will not.
don't. The only minor beef I have with anything that's said in the movie, and everything is when Molaram is having his little monologue and everything about when they find all the Shankara stones, and he's like, first the Hebrew God will fall, and then the Christian one. And I'm thinking, yeah, that'll never happen. You think a bunch of rocks are going to let you go up against God? You are as dumb as as those rocks. I don't care if they're blessed rocks blessed by Shiva himself or anything. You're not going against the Hebrew and Christian God, which is actually the same God. That part actually made me laugh. And I would have laughed in his face and said, yeah, you're wrong.
Yeah.
My God's bigger than your God, and my God will kick your butt no matter how many rocks you have.
Wars have been fought for attitudes like that.
Yep.
You're
The
not.
fight scene in the apartment rooms, or what I prefer to call the apartment suites or whatever, where
Oh, yeah.
she's fighting with him, and then when he turns her down and whatnot, and then
Mhm.
she's outside yelling while he's getting attacked by that assassin. I could have
Yeah,
been
by
your
the-
greatest
the,
adventure. It's like, shut up. And then he comes
Like,
in,
"Lady,"
and she's like, "Oh, Indy."
and then he pushes against the partially nude statue of the
Yeah.
woman.
I'm
trying to find the
right
path.
here.
Here, I'm right here. He's like, I'm not interested in you right now. I'm trying to figure out where this guy came from that almost killed me.
Yep.
I will say that I will say this. That was one of the best improvisations improvised uses of a
Improvisations,
whip, of using a whip and everything to
That
hang a
was
person with.
improv?
Well,
yeah.
not improvised, but in the everything, using a whip and everything as a method of hanging someone. And he you get
Oh yeah,
yeah
the light or the
he wraps it around the ceiling fan
the ceiling fan.
and ends up hanging the thuggy assassin. I'm trying to
Yep.
think of the cult, the thuggy cult.
Yeah, the cult guy.
Yeah, the thuggy thug.
Yeah, you all heard of Dougie Doug. Well, this guy was Thuggy Thug.
That
And from-
actually was a real cult. You guys know that, right?
Yeah, it was actually
yeah.
a real life cult because some of the stuff in Temple of Doom is based on real life history, and I think the Thuggee were actually a real cult and everything existed in India at one point.
See, that's what bugs me about, and sorry, it's not really political, but you hear all these people that are saying, well, imperialism and with the British Empire, and it was so bad. When they went into India, those people were killing each other right and left all the time, and that all stopped when they went in there. They've become a much better country, even after they left, but it was just, sometimes if you learn all of the history, your eyes kind of open and say, wow, maybe that was actually a really good thing.
Yep.
Yeah, in some ways you're not wrong.
Very true. I mean, yeah. And then they
They
get
were
down into
pretty
the
bloody.
thing where he gets hypnotized, or was it poison that got him? No, it wasn't poison. How did they hypnotize him?
They didn't hypnotize him. It was kind of a form of mind control.
Or yeah,
I thought they wasn't
What
there
they
something
ended
made
up-
those guys drink?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
I
was
think
some
it
sort
was.
of. It was some sort of.
Blood
what's
that
the word?
looked like.
Well, it was in a almost a semi-shrunken skull.
Yeah, with that weird tongue sticking out.
Yeah, it was called the black blood of the collie.
yeah. And then he made Indy drink it, and Indy was smacking the kid and smacking the woman and everything. And then, who was it or was it Short Round that burned him?
It was Short Round that burned him because they figured out that extreme pain and everything would snap him out of it because he ended up stabbing. Because remember the Maharaja was actually under the other.
He was under the spell.
Yeah.
And Short Round got into a fight with him and ended up. I think it was he got stabbed, or what? Did the kid also get burned?
I think
He got him
burned.
with the torch on his belly.
Yeah.
Yeah, he got the torch on the belly, and then friggin' he gets Indian. He's like, all right, if I remember, I'm trying to remember.
He's like,
clearly,
Indiana, I love you, and then puts the torch to his abdomen and everything, and it snaps Indiana out of it.
Yeah, I thought he was gonna do it a second time too, and he's like, no, I'm good.
Yeah, once is enough.
Yeah, but then he's like, or they still thought he was under the control, and then that's when everything
started to switch. And I will say the musical cue there and everything, when he comes into the mine after they've gotten the Shankara stones and everything, and they've kind of busted up, they've rescued Willie and everything from being dropped into that pit.
Yeah.
And that musical cue and everything, and Indiana's like, we're getting out of here. All of us.
Yep.
And you're like, oh, it's about to bust out up in here. Or as Jim Ross would say on Raw, business is about to pick up.
Yeah. Then I love the bridge, the freaking rope bridge scene. He speaks to Short Round, and Short Round's like, hang on, lady, we about to go for a ride.
Yeah. He says, short round. Chu Chi, Latu Sanza, or something like that.
Yes.
And she's like, oh my God, is he nuts? And Short Round's like,
lady, we're gonna go for a ride.
he's like, he not nuts, he crazy. And then
Yep.
he looked Molaram right in the eye. He's like, Molaram, prepare to meet Kali in hell.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh yeah, go kick this son of a Hodad's ass. Kick
Yep.
it good, kick it soundly.
Then
Because
the
they're
freaking
in
alligators and all that shit, man.
Actually, those weren't alligators, they were crocs. Alligators are native to North
crocs.
America. Crocodiles are native to
Yep.
Africa and
Crocs
Asia,
are
and
everywhere else.
well, obviously over in India. Yeah, because
Either way, they got well fed.
Yeah,
Yep.
they had a very their diet was thuggy rich for a little while. Oh,
Speaking of alligators, this is totally off the subject, but I got to tell you a story. My dad, I was adopted, and he was much older. My parents were, and this was after the war. He was in World War II, and afterwards he went down to Colombia to work, and they were building roads out in the middle of the jungle, and they had this one pond that they would swim in and fish in and different stuff. One night they were pretty hungry, and they hadn't been able to get any fish for a while, so he got the bright idea. He says, let's throw in a stick of dynamite, get the fish up. They threw it in, no fish came up, but there's a big old alligator that came swimming out the other side. They'd been swimming with this thing, and it ate all the fish. That's why they didn't have any, but they were a little cautious around water after that.
I can't say I necessarily blame them. Whew. Well, and this kind of is a adjacent story and everything, dealing with the snakes and the eels and everything. When my grandmother was growing up and everything, her and a bunch of kids and everything there in the neighborhood were playing out in the middle of the field, and unbeknownst to them, there was a rattlesnake pit right on the edge of the field and everything. One of their friends fell into it, and it was full of baby rattlers. And by some miracle, and I'm going to say this is God, the friend did not get bitten once before they got him out.
Nice.
Yeah.
That has to be because the adult probably wouldn't bite, but the babies go nuts, and they're the ones that'll kill you.
Yeah,
they
because
can't control their venom outtake.
Yeah, precisely. Yeah, but I will say I'm not exactly sure how Jones knew that incantation to get rid of to activate the Shankara stones, but honestly, that's actually a really memorable quote. Everything. Do Shiva K, do Shiva Kahaseko. You have betrayed Shiva. And then he just keeps repeating it, and it gets more and more intense and everything. And Molaram's actually got one of Shankara stones in his hand. It's bright, blazing hot, and it burns his hand and causes him to fall off the bridge.
Yep.
Because the bridge, at this point, the bridge is split in two and everything. And they're hanging off the edge of a cliffside. Oh, excuse me. But yeah, I will say honestly, of the three, I think Temple of Doom goes by quicker than the other two do. Relatively
I think it was
speaking.
shorter, yeah.
Yeah, because I think Raiders and Last Crusade were just over 2 hours and 10 minutes, maybe, whereas the Temple of Doom was maybe just under 2 hours, if that.
Yeah.
Or maybe it was just the fact that it went by so quick and everything. But honestly, we've amazingly hit all the major plot points and everything, and even some of the little stuff too and everything with that movie. I will say this: I still cannot figure out how the heck they rationaled that big danceful musical number at the beginning and everything when the stage that she's performing on is so small, not to mention that club itself is so bleeding small. That honestly is like, how the hell do you rationalize that unless they're just this is for the opening credits and they're just like, we're gonna have a big dance number and everything for the opening credits.
I don't know how many of the old 40s and 50s movies you saw. Like I said, I was raised by much older parents, and they would
Oh,
watch
Mhm.
some of these things, and they did that all the time. I think it was kind of an homage to the films that were made in
I
the
think you're
time
right.
setting that this was, because they would have a little tiny screen, and all of a sudden, big stage would open up. There'd be a
Mhm.
pond there with people doing interpretive dance in the water and everything, when it obviously couldn't fit on stage, but it was meant to look good on a movie. Like I said, I
Yeah,
think that was kind of an homage to where that
I think
stage
you're right.
suddenly became 10 times its size.
Yeah, I think you're right on that, Dega, because um, my parents were both in their 30s and everything, and they were both from the baby boom generation, and they grew up watching all the old musical, black and white musical movies and whatnot, even the early Technicolor ones. And yeah, that does make sense.
Oh my
And
gosh. Sorry, a friend of mine
no,
just sent me a picture, and it's well, while we're talking about movies and great movies and whatnot, I'm sorry, I
mhm.
just have to interject this. Titanic is just an old woman telling a story about some good dick she got on a cruise.
Now, see, that was one movie I never saw because I knew the ending. The boat sinks, everyone dies. I was
I'm
good
sorry.
not going to see it. But no, that
I
actually
actually.
was pretty funny.
That has got to be one of the best explanations for Titanic I've ever heard. And
I'm
here's
gonna
the
share
thing:
that on my Facebook, man. Holy shit.
you need to share it on Twitter and send it, DM it to me because I want to keep that. That is actually good. Because
Yep.
okay, I went and saw Titanic when it came out in theaters. I saw it, I think, twice because I had nothing else better to do, and there was nothing else really good on at the theaters. So I was like, "Yeah, I'll go see it again." I think I saw it twice at the discount theater and everything where I lived at the time and everything because it was playing at the discount theater and I could go see it for like a couple bucks. I'm like, I've got some time to kill. I'll go see it because there's nothing good playing at the main theater or anything. And well, heck, Kate Winslet's hot, and the story was relatively interesting. So
Yeah.
19. Let's see. How old? Let's see. That came out in 90. What did it
9
come?
or 8.
I was 19 going on 20. So yeah, 19 or 20-year-old ambassador found Kate Winslet attractive.
When did it
Justifiably
come
Yeah, I
so.
out?
thought she was attractive too, man. I got to see her boobies.
Oh, for heaven's sakes. But
Who wouldn't find Kate Winslet attractive if you could see her boobies at the time,
What
you
year
know?
was that? Did that come out?
I think it was 98 or 99. I can't honestly remember.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I'm about to tweet it out. Just saying. That's exactly what I'm going to
Okay,
say.
okay.
Just saying.
Adega Shia and everything. She's like, and Shia, I just want to say, for your first time moderating, you are doing a wonderful job. Thank you so much for agreeing to do it. You are awesome. And just a round
Yes,
of
thank you.
Yeah, you are
just
doing great.
yeah, sure. Well, Adega, you weren't here at the time, and Orange, I'll give him the short version. When I realized I was going to start doing live streams on a regular basis, I realized I was going to need at least one or two moderators or anything. And Shia was one of the first people to join my channel and one of the first people to follow me on Twitter. And I'm like, I messaged her and everything. I was like, hey, I need a moderator. Here's what you need. This is what you basically do. You never have to be on camera. And she agreed. And I'm like, I may not be Overlord DVD with Mary Ashmead and Bionic Belly Button, but I got Shia Storm Dragon. I am just as happy.
Yeah.
And someday when my channel is as big as his, Shia can say I was there at the beginning.
Thing is, Shia, they might actually do a Titanic remake in the year 2997. You never know. 1,000 years later, we're remaking the Titanic movie.
Or they'll remake it next year the way they're making all these remakes. It's just nuts.
Yeah.
Well, they talked about doing a Titanic 2 for a while, but they never did. All hail the mighty Shia Wrench. Yes.
What
No,
would they
Shia,
do with
we-
the fucking Titanic sequel? I mean, what the fuck? Like, are you gonna
Exactly.
just? Well, here's another interesting fact, guys, about the Titanic. Did you know that they actually sent some probes down there and they found out that the pool is still full of water?
Ha 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 ha. You are so funny.
That reminds me of a blonde joke. Oh my word.
Do it. Go
Well,
ahead.
They used to be pulling that shit on Facebook, or they pull that shit like once a year on Facebook. Yeah, they found out that the Titanic's pool is still full. It's like, shut up, man. But yeah, back to Indiana Jones. Are we getting on to Last Crusade?
Yeah, I think we've pretty much covered Temple of Doom, unless somebody has something else they wanna bring up.
We're good.
Okay. Well, then let us jump into.
Well, wait. My last takeaway about Temple of Doom: don't betray Shiva.
Yes, very good takeaway. Do not betray Shiva. Shiva good, Kali bad.
And
Y'all,
monkey brains are awesome.
Yes.
Yeah, monkey brain. Freaking
Chill.
hashtag monkey brains, people.
Yes. Oh, I'm gonna put that in the chat. See if everything. I'm gonna put it on my Twitter later. Where's my hashtag? Chilled.
Monkey brains for dessert.
If PETA comes after you, I am gonna laugh so hard.
Fucking Rosetta Allen got blocked by PETA.
Oh well. Let's see if we can get that hashtag to trend on Twitter for at least maybe an hour and everything tomorrow or whatever. Hashtag do some random post about Rise of Skywalker and then put hashtag chilled monkey brain. See what happens. Nothing may
Last
happen.
time I
nothing.
created a hashtag, oh my god, I got shadow banned badly.
Wow, it must have been really bad then.
It was Cal Fart Cortez.
You got shadow banned for that?
Yeah, back when she did the whole Green New Deal thing.
Oh my!
And she said, we can't ban Cal Farts. It's like, I'm gonna.
Yeah, but we
I
can.
wasn't the one that created it because one person used it before me, but I was the one that raised the hype on it.
You wield such power.
Okay, we've got two good comments down here.
Copper strike.
And then and Shy hits
PETA
it right
has no
on
sense
the
of
head. PETA has no sense of humor.
Oh, you should have seen that thing or you should have seen it when Rosetta went off on PETA, or they were talking about something and freaking Rosetta just basically said, "Don't you guys have the biggest record of slaughtering animals?" And PETA fucking blocked her for laying down tax on them. And it's like, fuck you, we're not letting you spread that truth. It's like, yeah, fuck you too. I mean, she also had, or the Senate take a picture of her with two bison shoulder bones, and he turned it into a meme saying, fuck you, PETA. And he sent it to him. It's like, holy shit. But yeah, Last Crusade. That was River Phoenix that played young Indy?
Yep, sure was.
Yes, it was.
Because there's River Phoenix, Joaquin Phoenix, and Summer Phoenix, I know of. Summer Phoenix, gosh, that woman has amazing bazingas. Or bazungas.
Well, River and Joaquin are brothers. I don't know
Yeah,
anything
and Summer
about
is
the
their
other one.
sister. Summer is
I
their
didn't
sister.
know that.
But yeah.
Are you pulling our leg or are you being serious?
I'm being dead serious.
Okay.
Summer Phoenix was in the movie The Faculty.
Was she?
Yeah, she was the one that was always slapping her boyfriend in the face, saying, fuck you, you little pussy, fuck you, and everything.
Oh, I actually remember that movie. I didn't realize that was her. Dang.
Yep, and then she got into adult content a little later.
There you go.
Oh,
Oh shit! Did you at least do the hashtag the rise of Skywalker? That would have made it so much better because you would have gotten a lot more traction.
She can redo it, or I'll even do it. I don't care.
But yeah, one of the things I absolutely loved in Last Crusade was that beginning sequence where he's basically part of the troop, and he's on that train full of animals, and he gets into the snake area, and then he gets further in, and there's that big snake that comes out of the water. And it's like,
that thing honestly scared the crap out of me. And I'm like,
same
get
here,
it away, kill the fire.
Yeah, it's like fucking exercise that bitch. But yeah, then the other kid that brought the sheriff comes in blowing the horn. He just pulls the horn away. It's like sound. It's like, oh, what the fuck, man? I brought the sheriff.
The beet red face and that weird goofy smile. That was funny.
I know.
Yes,
right?
Jeff B. Even though this doesn't necessarily pertain to what we're talking about, yes, Jeff B. Yes, he was.
Yep, Doomcock was right.
So was the Fandom Menace. We were right.
Oh yes, we were.
Everybody that did the legwork, everybody that did the legwork and everything to get all that crap out about this train wreck. Yes, Shaya, do it. Put hashtag Rise of Skywalker. Hashtag
Rise of Skywalker. Yeah.
The Rise of Skywalker is chilled monkey brains. Do it.
Exactly. Do it. Do it.
Do it. Do it.
Do it.
Okay. Anyway, Temple of Doom.
We must be getting tired.
No, Last Crusade.
Last Crusade. Last Crusade.
The guy that basically inspired Indy to do the whole archaeology thing. Yeah, he's like, you lost this round, kid, but you got heart.
Doesn't mean you have to like it. You have to like it.
Yeah, it doesn't mean you have to. Yeah.
And that's actually the same fedora.
Yeah.
That's the fedora the guy gave him. That's the one he's worn all throughout his career when he was a teacher and when he's an archaeologist.
Yep. And then he's on the freaking ship where he tried to get it back and whatnot.
And he does.
What was it? It was the
Cross of Coronado.
Yeah, the Cross of Coronado. I thought for a moment I thought it was one of the sacred crosses of Berzier, but yeah.
No, it was the Cross of Coronado.
Yep, and then he got it back and whatnot, and he's like, it belongs in the museum.
And the guy's like, so do you.
Yeah, like, so do you, man.
Dude, you use a cane. You've used a cane since the first time you came across Jones, so shut up. You're just as old and just as decrepit. Even actually, you're more decrepit. And then, of course, you've got the scene where Donovan's men come in and say, Dr. Jones.
Yeah.
And fun fact, for those of you who may not know this, and everything for you guys, the guy that plays Donovan
played in Empire Strikes Back as General Veers.
What's his first name?
I can't remember.
Maximilian Veers.
Serious? No wonder they didn't say his name out loud.
But think about it. How cool is that for a name for a general, especially in the Imperial military? That's a name
in a Star Wars universe, that doesn't make sense to have that kind of name, though. Not when you have names like Dak and freaking Hobby and shit, and Jack and Biggs.
Yeah, but those were all...
Maximilian just sounds...
I think it's
Maximus Veers would have been better.
Maximilian. I thought it was cool.
Yeah, Maximilian, freaking maximum firepower, man.
Yeah, pretty much. General Maximum Firepower Veers.
Yep. Anyway, back to...
Hell, he's a... Yeah. Yeah, back to...
That was the one where he snuck out of the was it that one that he snuck out of the
that's
college?
The one where he sneaks out of the college where everybody's beating and banging on the door of like everybody's wanting his help and everything. He's like, to hell with this. I'm gonna take my dad's diary and leave.
Yep. And I just love when freaking Connery came into it. It's like, Junior.
I didn't know it was you.
Yeah. I hate it when you call me Junior. Dad,
Honestly-
what? Dad, what? Dad, what?
What? Go towards the fireplace.
You guys are funny.
Oh my gosh, I could go forever on that. Where they get on the blimp and he's like, ticket. And he's like, or he says something in German, and he's like, ticket. And he turns around, he realizes it's Jones, and then he throws him out of the blimp. And
he's
everybody's looking at him, and he's like, no ticket. And they all pull their fucking tickets out. Oh, God.
My favorite part is actually when they meet Elsa for the first time in Venice.
Yeah.
Wow.
X marks the spot. X 10 10 10 10 10. When he's beaten on the floor and the
librarian
dude and the Einstein looking dude is freaking just
the librarian, yeah,
doing the stamp thing, and he keeps on
ding, and he's like, what the heck?
and he's looking at the stamp like, is this thing making that really loud noise?
And he never goes to look around.
I know, he doesn't. Oh my gosh, this movie was the most enjoyable.
It was, because it had so many great points. I want to make this comment, and I am saying this comment as I had thought it before I was married. When it comes to Ilsa, there's a piece of the Reich I wouldn't mind associated with.
Say that again.
There is a piece of the Reich I would not have minded associating with.
Oh yeah. I mean, she actually freaking slept with Sean Connery's character.
Yeah. Like, dang,
talk about line of duty.
Yeah.
Talk about taking one for the Reich.
It's like, dude, you got to get a piece of Sean Connery, James Bond, man. You got a piece of the first James Bond. You are a fucking legend, woman.
Yeah, no kidding.
I mean, it was just.
He wasn't the first James Bond.
Actually,
yes, he was.
Yes,
Dr. No was Dr. No.
There were some black and white ones and some TV shows from Britain.
Yes, but when it came to the movies,
he was the first. He was the first, and he was the best.
Gotcha.
He was the first, and he was the best.
Well, that's everyone's opinion. My favorite was the guy who played for, and I know we're getting off subject, but he was the on Her Majesty's Secret Service.
Oh, George Lazenby.
Plus his, and he had the hottest Bond girl, in my opinion. But anyway,
we can't say Bond girl anymore.
Yes, we can.
I'm gonna
Bond
say
girl,
it
Bond
every
girl,
time I
Bond
get a
girl,
chance.
Bond
Fucking
girl,
Bond girl, yeah, Bond girl, bongos.
Okay.
Anyway,
we're going to go off. We will
are
go
so
off on
silly.
just a little bit of a rabbit trail, just for a minute.
Yeah.
Favorite Bond girl. Go.
You got mine.
Halle Berry.
Like I said, you got mine.
I mean,
I can't remember what else.
after I saw her in Monsters Ball, goddamn.
I'm gonna have to say, and this might be going against the grain quite a bit, Eva Green. She has had that classic actress look, and it worked for Casino Royale, and yeah. Well, not to mention
is that the Daniel Craig Casino Royale or the original Casino Royale?
That's the Daniel Craig Casino Royale.
Wait, wasn't she like the one that?
Yeah.
Was she?
Vesper Lind? Yeah.
She
was
the one that said, "I'll keep." Yeah, that one. I thought the other chick in that movie was pretty hot too. The one that he actually boinks.
So,
No, I'm just thinking, because we're talking about Bond girls, and I was thinking Sheila here. Shayla. Out of the Bond guys.
You mean Shia?
Daniel Craig, to me, would be, I mean, granted, he's the tallest and's got some pretty serious shoulders, but I think facial wise, he would seem to me to be the least appealing out of the guys.
Yeah, I know that dude
I'd have
looks
to rely
like
on
he's.
her better judgment than mine.
Yeah, I mean, I think Pierce Brosnan was the better. Well, no, Sean Connery was the best James Bond, but Pierce Brosnan, I think, was a lot more, or was to most of the women that I know, considered the most attractive.
Well, my wife would totally agree with you.
Well,
But back to Sean
Yeah, back to
Connery
it.
and the beautiful Last Crusade. I could just
Oh, yeah.
go off with every scene that Sean Connery was in was an out of 10, man. Where
Yeah.
Now, it is sad that he slaughtered all those birds, but he did it for a good
Who cares?
cause.
I
He did it for a
remembered
good
my
cause.
Yeah,
I
he did to
suddenly
save
remembered
him
my
and his son's life.
Charlemagne. My army shall be the birds and the I can't remember the full
Birds
fucking quote, but
We could add that to the things to piss PETA off. Chilled monkey brains and slaughtered birds.
yep, Sean Connery slaughtered birds.
No, Henry Jones Sr. slaughtered birds.
Yeah.
Sean Connery just played a guy who slaughtered birds.
Yeah, that was just.
That was a good
It's like-
imitation. That actually was pretty good.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you. Yeah, but
I
yeah,
have to,
it's
okay.
like,
One of my favorite moments in Last Crusade, when Jones and Ilsa go to the Castle Brunwald on the German-Austrian border, and he knocks. Will you tell Lord Brunwald that his
Hit to see
lordship
the
plans
tapestries.
This is a castle, isn't it? It doesn't have tapestries. That is a castle, and it has many tapestries. But if you are Scottish Lord, then I am Mickey Mouse. How dare he? Bam!
Yeah, that was a good one. Then they get in her when the place was burning. He's like, I have the letter. And he accidentally drops the freaking lighter and he tries blowing, and then he's like, son, I gotta tell you something. Not now, Dad. The room is on fire.
On fire.
Yeah. It's like, oh shit.
And then there's a whole part where they get the telegram from Berlin and everything, and Hitler has ordered a hit on the Jones boys, and Donovan says the Third Reich just declared war on the Jones boys, and they're like, that was a mistake. You're dealing with Indiana Jones and his very capable father.
Yep. Oh my gosh.
And look what
man.
they did. Not
We
only
need to
did
go
they
to
keep
Berlin. Yeah. Then they get into the freaking motorcycle chase, and then they're at the
And then
crossroads.
one
And he's
minute
like,
one minute his dad is happy. Next minute his dad is grousing at him like,
yeah,
"You
it's
did
like,
not fight
we need to
honorably,
go to
son."
Berlin. Yeah,
I
he's
like
we
the
need to go to
motorcycle
Berlin.
chase. I
No,
thought
we
that
need
was
to meet. We need to meet. Whatchamacallit in the other or in
Marcus and Sala.
yeah, Marcus and Sala. The diary is in Berlin. He's like, I thought you don't. And then freaking Sean Connery he says something to Sean Connery, and Sean Connery just slaps him across the face.
He blasphemed and says JC.
Oh yeah, he's like, Jesus Christ, smack! It's like,
That's
first,
for blasphemy.
that's blasphemy. Second, and then he basically
Well, he
gives
goes
him the
into that short monologue. The quest for the Grail is not mere archaeology. It's a race against the forces of darkness. If the Nazis get their hands on the Grail, the armies of darkness will march across the face of the earth.
Unopposed and unchallenged. Yep.
Yeah.
And then he actually goes to get the damn book, and who does he? Yep, he runs right into him. Hitler.
Okay.
And he just grabs the book, signs the fucking book, and gives it right back. It's like, holy shit. It's like,
something holy signed by one of the most unholy people in history.
Yeah. It's like, holy crap, man. And freaking, you could tell that freaking Indy probably almost pissed himself when he stood up to Hitler, and then he's like looking at him with sheer terror in his eyes, and then he just kind of composes himself with no fear, looking him dead in the eyes, And then
Yep.
he gets the book and then signs the book and just smacks the book against him and like, all right, gotta get out of here now.
Just go
Shut the fuck up.
Now, there's a connection between the guy that plays Hitler and Empire. What is it?
He played in Empire as,
Mm-hmm.
or was it, or no, it couldn't have been Admiral Piet.
No, it wasn't.
Was it Admiral Ozzel?
It was Admiral Ozzel. Very good.
Son of a bitch. Yeah, I had a feeling it had to have been one of the admirals.
Mhm.
You have failed me for the last time, Admiral.
Admiral.
Captain Piet, make ready to land your
Troops
beyond the energy field and deploy the fleet, so that nothing
gets off the system.
You are in
You are
command
in
now, Admiral Piet.
No, the line is
As the dude is just fucking dying right next to him.
you are in command now, Admiral Piet.
Admiral Piet. But yeah, it was Admiral Ozzel that played Hitler. Holy
Mhm.
shit.
Yep.
I mean, there was a lot of jump between freaking
Well, yeah.
Wars and Indiana Jones.
Jones. Yep.
Yeah. Because the British actors and whatnot were all better freaking, or were all in the same damn area, you know?
Not to mention they made good villains.
Yeah, they do.
They made
But
very
yeah,
good villains.
then they have that German dude smacking freaking Jones every time he says something, and then Jones or Connery just grabs his thing. He's like, perhaps you should try reading books instead of burning them.
Yeah, that's when they get into the desert and they've captured
Yep.
they've captured both. They've already got Marcus Brody and everything, and they finally get their hands on Jones Sr.
Oh,
And,
yeah. Oh, God, the Brody thing where he's like, we couldn't find Brody. You'll never find him. He speaks 12 languages. He will blend in, and
he will disappear. And if with any luck, he's already got the Grail. And then you see Marcus Brody bumbling around a train station. Does
Yeah,
anybody
like
He got
Lost.
lost in his own library.
Yeah, he got lost in his own goddamn library.
Yeah. It's like,
Good
holy
grief.
shit, man.
I mean, that whole
It was a
sequence.
good
everything-
bluff. It was a good
It
bluff.
was a good.
but God damn, it was perfectly executed. But then it just shows how stupid the guy is.
Well, he's not stupid. He's just out of his element because Indiana's dad says Marcus isn't up to the challenge.
He's not stupid. He got lost in his own library.
He's just out of his element. He's not up for these sort of adventures and stuff.
Yeah.
He doesn't know what he's doing, everything because
Exactly.
this is life and death. This is like fate of the world hanging in the balance and everything. Because think about what would have happened if Hitler had gotten his hands on the Holy Grail.
Hitler would have been confined to a temple.
Not necessarily, because I think that doesn't the Grail still work outside of the temple? It just it's a tricky thing
You
to
can't
get it
cross the
out.
seal, and the temple would fall apart. Yes, but then it would. I'm guessing that the damage would chase the Grail,
It might.
or the destruction would chase the Grail. I'm guessing.
It would follow it. Yeah, you might be
Yeah.
right on that.
It was never meant. It was put there for a reason and meant to stay there.
Yeah, essentially. Well, and the funny thing is the exterior for the temple and everything of the Grail is actually a real life place and everything. It used to be
Oh,
an
yeah.
ancient
Jordan.
yeah,
It's in Jordan.
Yeah, it's called Petra.
Yep. Friend of mine actually went there over the last couple of years.
Was Hollywood or Shepperton for UK? I want to say it was Shepperton Studios, more than likely, for Last Crusade, Jeff B. But I'm not 100% sure. And just going to something that they were discussing in the chat, they were talking about Rise of Skywalker being on the bargain bin in Walmart in 3 weeks. And I wouldn't doubt it.
3 weeks after it's released, yeah. I mean, my theater has to hold it for 3 weeks,
it won't.
and we only have 2 screens.
I bet you money it will not make it to the end of January.
No way. It'll be out of theaters before January's up.
Oh yeah, they want to get they. No, they want to stretch. They're going to stretch it to the end of January. I'm willing to bet.
Yeah, but
Actually, I'm willing to bet it'll stretch into February, and we will get it out in around April.
Yeah, maybe, but it's gonna die hard. And it's gonna die quick. But here's the crazy thing, and this is kind of a neat thing to go off of and everything. If you consider the fact that even to this day, you still pay top dollar for the Indiana Jones movies and everything, even the box sets are individual and everything, and they're rarely ever in bargain bin or anything else. They're still on the main floor and everything at most of your major retailers. But now you can find, if there are any copies, you're going to find Rise of Skywalker in the bargain bin in a couple months.
Oh yeah.
Because great movies are always going to be popular and people are going to be willing to pay top dollar for them. Bad movies, they're going to go into a bargain bin. Just look at Ghostbusters 2016. Hell, they were offering it for free on Amazon Prime and everything a couple of years ago. For free. Because that was how unpopular it was. But you've got people and everything who will pay top dollar for brand new sets of Indiana Jones and Star Wars and all these other great films and everything, whether they're part of a franchise or just individual films themselves. So, but
well, folks, I'm gonna have to call it a night. You can hear I'm getting quiet. I'm just
dragging.
My cancerous bones are saying, you know what, you're done for the evening. So
I understand.
We'll catch you guys later.
Later, bud. Thank you for coming on. You have a good night.
Take it easy, Adiga.
Yeah. Adega's good people. Very good people.
Yeah, he is. Oh my god.
He does a lot of good stuff on his channel if you haven't checked him out. Everything. He writes his own fan fiction, does recordings of it and everything, and puts it on his channel, and it is top-notch independent fiction.
I'll have to check it out sometime.
It's under his name, Adega Outlaw, and everything.
Yeah. Oh shit, he's Adega Outlaw?
That's Adega Outlaw. From Action
I heard about
Comics.
his channel. Yeah, I heard about his channel. But he does some good shit.
Yes, he does. I'll listen to his stuff and everything when I'm at work and everything early in the mornings or anything, because I work on my own and everything. And I'll have my phone on me and everything, and I'll pull up his channel. I'll listen to. He's got like 2 or 3 different novels there and everything series that he's done and everything, and he'll do the recordings for them, and they are gripping, and they are very entertaining, and
yeah,
I think you'll enjoy it. And to everybody in the chat and everything, I highly recommend y'all check out Adega's a channel on YouTube. So, and he is on Twitter as well and everything, but he's just under Adega, period. So, but getting back to Last Crusade, and I think honestly we're going to wrap it up here in a few minutes or anything, because we've covered, and if y'all want everything, but I think honestly the really cool aspect of Last Crusade is the relationship between.
Yeah,
go ahead.
The father-son dynamic.
Yeah, because you have two parents. You have a father and a son who are somewhat estranged, but the reason they're estranged is not because of any one thing that either one of them did. It's because of the loss of the mother.
Yeah.
Everything. Because I think that conversation there on the Zeppelin and everything is very telling. Everything of the relationship they've had. They didn't talk. They never talked. And once Indiana got old enough, he was like, well, my dad doesn't really want anything to do with me. I'm just going to leave. And his dad's like, no, I didn't want you to leave. I wanted you to stick around. You left when you just got interesting. And I'm thinking, he's your son. He should have always been an interest to you, not to people that have been dead for centuries on end.
and everything. And I honestly thought that was kind of sad and everything. But it's nice to see by the end of the movie they finally have a decent relationship, or at least they're on their way to rebuilding their relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Anything because his dad's like, Indiana, let it go.
Yep.
Let it go.
And
Don't do it.
it was when he actually said or decided to call him Indiana for the first time,
Yeah,
and that is when he listened
Junior.
to his father.
And not Junior.
And it was, but if now here's the big takeaway, guys. If ever you are doing a spelling bee in Latin, remember Jehovah is spelled with an I.
With an I. Yep. Because it's in
I mean,
Greek.
he's like J, and he almost steps through, and he's like, idiot, Jehovah's spelled with an I. And you could tell that was the perfect
that was the
perfect sync of minds between Henry and his son. They were both saying the same thing. The penitent man will pass. Jehovah is spelled with an I. The unsealed or the leap of faith and whatnot.
Mm-hmm. That's the 3 trials. Yep.
Yep. And it's like, holy shit.
Why would a pious man or penitent man roll? Because you've got the one blade that chops off the head, but then you've got the other blade that comes up out of the floor. I'm like, okay, what's the second blade for? If they don't kneel right?
I know, right? It's like, oh shit.
Ah!
I mean, I love the head that rolled out when he tried going in, you know? Or when the other guy went in, and he's like, it's like, and it's like, dude, did you have a woman like on her knees in front of you? Or, I mean, what was with all that stuff, you know?
He was scared. He didn't know what the heck was going on.
Yeah, I know, but no, you could almost mistake it for that dude was getting some good head before he lost his head.
Maybe. Or maybe he was just really freaking... Oh, good grief.
I'm sorry, I got a dirty mind sometimes, especially when it's late at night.
That's all right. It happens. But I think the other neat thing is honestly there at the end and everything where they finally find the girl and you have that very old knight and everything. And Donovan's got the wrong mindset because Christ was a humble man. He was the son of a carpenter. It wouldn't have been a chalice made out of any type of precious metal. It would have been something made out of clay, but maybe inlaid with gold, which is exactly what they found.
Yep. And I have searched proper replica after proper replica. They don't make it.
I think there's a reason why.
Yeah, because it's religious iconography and such.
Yeah.
But
precisely.
It's like, if you guys will freaking make shit from, I mean, you guys do, I mean, you do the Last Supper, which is a religious iconography painting, but hey, you know.
Well, that's different because that's a work of art.
Yeah.
But the Holy Grail, it has a much deeper significance because it is symbolic of the Christian faith and is symbolic of something related to Christ. Yeah, divine.
We should really talk. Or have you ever seen the Da Vinci Code?
Yeah, I have.
Did you have any differences of opinion with because me, I mean, I was baptized Catholic, but I kind of do have the Da Vinci Code mindset, like the what if he was just an average Joe, but he was still capable of miracles, you know?
Honestly, my mindset is I go more Orthodox because I'm Protestant myself, but I have a lot of agreement with a lot of Catholic theology.
Mm-hmm.
I view Christ as, yes, he was human, but he was divine, but he never gave in to, nor was he ever tempted to the human aspect of his nature. So here's the thing, and I don't think we're going way off on track on this.
everything in
Yeah.
comparison to talking about the Last Crusade. There has been debate quite a bit about some passages of scripture that discusses the brothers and sisters of Christ and whether or not these were half siblings, like half brothers, half sisters. Some people say that they are, that Joseph and Mary did have children and everything after Christ. But the Catholic, and you probably know this, Orange, and everything, the view within the Catholic Church is that Mary was chaste for the entirety of her marriage and she died a virgin.
Yeah.
And everything. And
Yeah.
I can see the point of that, and I can understand that point of view. There's another way has been rationed out that these half brothers and half sisters were children of Joseph and everything from a previous marriage before he married, before he was wed to Mary. And everything, because a lot of depictions say that because a lot of depictions and everything, or a lot of some ways that it's reasoned out is that Joseph had been married previously and he had children from that previous marriage and he was wed to Mary afterward. And everything, and that the brothers and sisters that are mentioned in Scripture are Jeff B. James. James is considered a half brother of Christ. He's not a full brother. He's a half brother. But yeah, the thing is, I can understand what Dan Brown was trying to say. I don't necessarily agree with what he was saying in terms of questioning the how far the human side,
the divinity
of Christ.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Now
I've actually looked at the original. Last Supper, and there is no chalice there.
No, there isn't. Anything now? There's
So
the
argument. Yeah, the argument has a lot of merit, but it still does fall short in other ways.
Yeah, that's the problem. It's plausible, but at the same time, it's not without its deficiencies. Jeff B was everything there here in the comments. He had asked about James because there's a gospel in the New Testament. You probably know about this.
Yeah, I'm not too much of a religious follower because I'm more agnostic now than anything else. Because
I can
believe in a higher power. It's just I feel I'm not meant to understand it or identify it.
Well, and that's not necessarily a bad state of mind to have. Jeff B., I don't know if I'm a scholar. I've got professors that know a lot more about this than I do. I just happen to study hard, both on my own time, and, well, that's why I'm working towards becoming a pastor in the United Methodist Church. But the Da Vinci Code, yeah, it was an interesting movie and everything. It presents an interesting scenario, but as I said, I think it's more a work of fiction more than it is a work of, well, it is obviously a work of fiction, but I don't think it holds a lot of sound research and everything in terms of Christological theology and the nature of Christ himself. As to what you just said, Orange, honestly, that's not necessarily a bad position to have, because here's the thing. We have centuries, quite literally centuries, of theological and philosophical discussion and debate on the nature of, well, God, the Christian Hebrew God.
Mm-hmm.
And even now, as advanced as we are and as much debate and discussion has been done, we are still no closer to understanding the nature of God now than we were 2,000 years ago, or even 3,000 years ago when the early Hebrews and everything were sitting around campfires and everything, reciting the Tanakh, the ancient Hebrew texts and everything that make up the Old Testament. And actually, this just recently and everything, I've concluded a course and everything, learning how to read ancient Hebrew. And my professor and everything took us through the first 24 verses of Genesis. And we spent 2 semesters just discussing and exegeting those 24 verses. Of course, we were learning how to read disseminate the grammar and everything and the vocabulary and everything, so we knew what the heck we were reading. But I came away from it having a much deeper appreciation for what the monks and everything of the Hebrew society and everything did, or the Hebrew scholars, and then later on the Christian monks or the Catholic monks did, in translating the Greek into, or the ancient Hebrew into Greek, and then the Greek into Latin, and then the Latin into eventually modern English.
Yeah.
But
when I read Genesis, or the book of Genesis and whatnot, I think that was one of the darkest things I had ever read that was religious. I mean,
Genesis 1?
Basically all the way up to the flood. And one of the things that I read was, it really conflicted me, because it's like, is this seriously how they perceived God's perception of mankind, of humans? Because it says, I can't recite it verbatim, but basically he said he will not kill humans again, even though he believes they are evil at birth. And I'm like, that's dark. I mean,
well, the thing you have to realize is, at that point, humanity had fallen out of relationship with God due to the shortcomings of Adam and Eve and everything. And I think there are multiple interpretations of that particular text and everything that might shed a more positive light, where God doesn't necessarily say that he believes humanity is evil, but he believes that humanity is under the condition of original sin. And unfortunately, they're outside of his grace, but eventually he will create a means by which they can come back under his grace, that being the person of Christ.
Yeah.
But the interesting thing about Genesis is it has a cyclical pattern to it, because you have humanity very close to God, and then slowly falling away, and then coming back and making a mistake and falling away, and then coming back and then falling away again. And that keeps going all the way up until the Abrahamic portion of Genesis, because in Genesis 1 through 11 is what is known as the primordial history. And from 12 up until chapter 50 of Genesis is known as the Abrahamic narrative, dealing with Abraham and his children.
Yep.
And here's the interesting, just real quick, the interesting thing is, for Jews, the most important part to them is not the primordial history, is actually the narrative about Abraham and his children going into Exodus.
Yeah.
For them, Genesis is a footnote. It's interesting. It has merit. It has weight to it. Yes, Jeff B. Absolutely. And I think they can be a bit jarring or anything, or scary if you prefer.
Yeah. When I saw the movie End of Days and actually decided to look up Revelations 27, it's like, okay, I thought this was just fiction, but when I looked it up in the Bible in the book of Revelations, I'm like, okay, so it's actually a revelation.
Well,
the interesting thing about Genesis, even though the English translation that we have is relatively accurate, it doesn't even begin to scratch the surface of what is actually has been written down in those texts and everything in ancient Hebrew. Because I'm going to throw something at y'all, and it might sound a little odd and everything, but the first 3 verses of Genesis go as such, and this is actually in the ancient Hebrew. Bereshith bara Elohim et Hashemayim et haaretz et haaretz hayatha thohu lavohu lahoshek al panei reheteth tehom Elohim et haaretz. Roughly translated, that says, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth was formless and void, and the Spirit of God was upon the face of the waters.
The term Elohim or Elohim,
that's it's Hebrew.
I've heard that before, not from Hebrew translation, but Elvish from Lord of the Rings.
Well, the thing you have to remember about Tolkien is he borrowed from a lot of different languages to construct Elvish, and Hebrew was probably one of them. If you ever read the Silmarillion, it has a lot of
the Silmarillion is basically the Bible, just Tolkienized.
Of Middle Earth. Yeah.
It's basically the Bible of Middle Earth. Arda,
pretty much.
and
Where Iluvatar is actually in the
God.
Yep, pretty much. Because while I think Tolkien himself might have been agnostic himself, but I think he was.
No, Tolkien was a devout Catholic.
Was he a devout Catholic?
He was a very devout Catholic, and that was one of the many things of controversy when the Tolkien movie came out. They didn't touch on any of his. They didn't touch on him being religious at all, and it pissed off a lot of Tolkien fans.
I can't say I necessarily blame him. I didn't actually see the movie. I was interested in seeing it, but never got a chance.
Same here. I really do want to see that movie. I might actually buy it next month.
I think it's out on. I think it's probably out on video by now.
Oh yeah, it is. I'm gonna buy it on my Movies Anywhere app next month.
Well, I think we've pretty much covered Last Crusade, and then a little extra, a little bit outside of Last Crusade. We
touched on religion, and The Last Crusade was a deeply religious movie, believe it or not. I just love the final conversation between them. He's like, "What is this, Junior?" And he's like, "That's his name, Henry Jones Jr.
Junior.
I prefer to be called Indiana. We named the dog Indiana.
Indiana.
The dog?
You're named after the dog?
Sala would never let him live that down now.
No, unfortunately not. And honestly, I think that ended the storyline of Indiana very well. I think, honestly, Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
It was the perfect ending.
Kingdom of the Crystal Skull was completely unnecessary. Of course, they were supposedly doing an Indiana Jones 5, and I'm wondering.
They wanted to bring in Sean Connery for Indiana Jones 4, but they didn't.
But
he was retired at that point.
And he wouldn't come out and everything because he probably read the script. He's like, what the hell is this shite?
Yeah, it was only a minor part, and he's like, no, I want a major part if I'm going to come out of retirement.
Yeah, if I'm going to come back for this, I want to actually do something. I want to be granddad.
Yeah.
Because
I mean, the quicksand scene was just, oh God, cringe.
Yes.
Like, just pull the snake. It's like, dude, do you know how many snake experts, or do you know how much that would just totally not work.
Yeah, that snake would probably bite him.
Once you grab a hold of that snake's neck, its composure snaps. It will try to coil up quick. So yeah, it would pull him out most likely, but he'd also probably kill the snake.
Yep. And even as much as he hates
logic,
snakes, I don't.
yeah, the logic just doesn't make sense in that movie. And
Yeah.
it's like, good riposte and this and that. And she's freaking teaching her son or telling her son how to freaking fence and shit in the middle of the fucking kids. Like, shut the fuck up and let him fight, god damn it.
Yeah.
Jeez.
I'm going to say this. I think Karen Allen actually aged better than Carrie Fisher.
Carrie who? Oh, yeah. What's her
Carrie
name?
Fisher?
Marion. Yeah.
Yeah.
Carrie Fisher. Yeah.
Karen
Carrie
Allen.
Fisher did a lot of drugs.
Well, some of them were prescription, but yes.
Well, she also did things that were not so much prescription. I mean, she was into cocaine and shit.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
I mean, it sucks that. I mean, she is a beloved person in the Star Wars universe, but I'm not going to deny the reality of what she went through.
Yeah, because she went through a lot of heavy stuff. She did.
I liked her in Scream 3.
Yes.
Wait, are you? No. It's uncanny. I was up for Princess Leia. I was this close. So who's the one that gets it? The one that sleeps with George Lucas. It's like, oh shit, she just sickly burned George Lucas.
Well, did you ever see the roast where they inducted him into the AMI or whatever it was, or the AFI?
I think so, yeah.
Look up Carrie Fisher roast George Lucas and everything. It'll take you 2 seconds to find on YouTube. It's absolutely hysterical. It is.
Did you see the movie Hook?
I know exactly what you're talking about. That thought was actually going through my head. Yeah.
Or that was Carrie Fisher and George Lucas on the bridge kissing.
Yep. Or at least feigning kissing, whatever way you want to call it.
Yeah.
I actually learned about that.
Damn, man, get it.
The only reason I know that, Nostalgia Critic, back when I used to watch him.
Yeah. I mean, I learned about that later on, I learned that shortly after I saw Hook for the very first time, and it was when it was just came out on VHS.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah, I'm that old, VHS old.
I'm that old too. I remember VHS.
Yeah, I know.
My mother has.
Does anybody in the chat remember VHS?
Probably.
I mean, I'm willing to bet a few of them do. But yeah, anyway, I am actually getting a little tired and I got to get up in the morning. So, it was good. I had a good time. It was good. I had a good time on this one. I can't wait tomorrow night. So I can unleash the rage.
Yeah, unleash the rage. Tomorrow night will be the rage. We will be starting the rage around I want to say maybe 8:30. Just depends on when I get back and everything with the missus and our friends and everything. And then I'll pop on and everything.
Yeah, I'm going to be going to the theater to upload my rant video on that very topic. I mean, it's a 22-minute video that I'm going to be uploading.
Did you see?
And I usually don't do those that long of a video.
Did you see DC's this morning? 37 minutes.
No, DC who?
Overlord DVD.
Who?
Doomcock.
Oh, Doomcock, yeah.
His was 37
I covered
minutes.
everything that I had issues with, and I didn't.
Oh, he did too.
I was channeling my inner Milestone, my inner Jesse Milestone.
Oh, yeah, she goes off. Boy, I haven't watched hers yet.
She's awesome.
She is
love
awesome.
that woman.
She's spoken for.
Yeah, I know. I mean, Jeff and I like Jeff. He's a good guy. He actually follows me on Instagram.
Well, DC.
I just wish he'd fucking follow me on Twitter.
Yeah, Doomcock and everything follows me on Twitter as well.
I wish he would follow me on Twitter, man. I absolutely love his shit.
I'll talk about this real quick, and then I think we'll both just bounce.
Yeah.
I came late to the fight, but for me,
So did I.
the fire started burning the second time I saw TLJ, and my biggest beef, aside from some of the other things, was what was done to Skywalker. What was done to Luke? Did I have a beef with what was done to Han and Leia? Yeah, I did. But my biggest beef was one, the unnecessary humor. That was a minor beef, but it was still a beef for me. But my
Yeah.
major beef was what was done to Luke.
Hey, it was
And-
Mark Hamill's beef too.
Yeah, I know. And I watched the videos in the aftermath. I'm like, Johnson, you son of a... you dirty...
I think he purposefully sabotaged that movie. I truly do believe that he purposefully set out to sabotage that movie, and
Well, John Kennedy probably meant to do it.
yeah.
I mean, I know I have touched on all this stuff in some of the other videos I've done on my channel and everything, but I may have come late to the Phantom Menace, but I think I was Phantom Menace before I knew it even existed.
We were.
because I was so royally pissed at the depiction of Luke Skywalker I saw on that screen. Because this was a guy who went through almost literal hell trying to save his father. And he wouldn't even drag his sorry butt off that planet and everything to save his sister.
Nephew. Yeah, and his sister, yeah.
And
well, he didn't
just wrote
exactly
off,
know his sister was imperiled yet because he had cut himself off from the Force. When he finally reactivated his Force, that's when he felt Leia's peril. But I'm not don't get me wrong, I'm not defending TLJ in the least. I'm just pointing out something.
Oh yeah, I know. No, you don't have to qualify it. I know exactly what you mean. I do. I understand exactly what you mean.
One person's like, why are you defending it? I'm like, shut your fucking whore mouth. I am not defending that movie. I am simply explaining what was in the movie.
Yeah.
And he's like, did you just seriously tell me to shut my whore mouth? I'm like, yes. In the middle of a library? I'm like, abso-fucking-lutely. And they're like, could you guys keep it down? The librarian's like, could you keep it down? I'm like, this is a very passionate argument. And it's also an ABC conversation, or it's also an AB conversation. And the librarian's like, did you just say that to me? I'm like,
question,
I think we got to go now.
Question,
no, my librarians the librarians here are kind of elderly, and this one she was just a royal bitch, and it's like,
does she have blue hair?
Like, I'm gonna have to ask you to leave, and I'm like, I'd like to talk to the woman who runs the libraries. She and I are good friends. She's like, well, then you can have your conversation. Just keep it down. And it's like, yeah, well, okay, fine. We'll have our conversation over in the corner. But yeah. And we did.
Well, yeah. Orange,
anyway.
do you want to do a quick plug before we sign off?
Yep. Well, folks, I'm Orange Hat Reviews. I do movie news, movie reviews, show reviews. I'm currently watching The Witcher to do a review of it later on. And I'm actually going with this one from an outside perspective. I've never played the games or any of that stuff. But yeah, I do controversial news. I don't bullshit on the channel. I don't shill for anything or anyone. I give it to you straight, and I give it to you brutally blunt too sometimes. And my next video will be out tomorrow, probably around 2:30ish. So stay tuned for my epic rant on everything wrong with The Rise of Skywalker, or all of my issues that I had with it. I mean, everything is wrong with that movie, but you know what I mean. Anyway, folks, y'all have a good one, and I'll catch y'all on the next one.
And as for myself, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank everybody for being here, for all my guests, Orange Hat Reviews, Dega Outlaw, Supreme Heretic, CJH, and to all
what
my...
CJH means.
I think it says on his thing it's C.J. Hogan, but he's Canadian.
Oh,
So
I always thought it meant
But-
the Canadian Jedi Hunter.
that's actually not a bad one. You might want to send him that.
Yeah, I know,
And
right?
to all you lovely people in the chat who have been here for the last 3.5 hours, to my wonderful moderator Shia Storm Dragon, thank you so much, my dear. You did a
Indeed.
wonderful job tonight. And until next time, this is the Ambassador signing off.
Bye bye.